You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome back to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here. Actually, part 2 with Mike Bedell. Mike, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Hey, glad to be back for another episode.
So Mike and I, we both hit the can. We got a glass of water.
Yes.
We've been doing a podcasting marathon here. If you guys did not check out the first episode of Mike Bedell with Bedell Property Management, that was the episode before this one. So this is a part 2. Yes. So this is going to be really cool. So we want to talk about on this one our relationship, how we got to know each other. We're going to talk YouTube in a very different way than I've ever talked about.
Sure.
Because you behind the scenes have been with me on this journey, watching me do this.
Yes.
And then along the way you got involved on a lot of videos.
Yeah.
A lot of coaching with me behind the scenes, me helping you grow some different projects.
Definitely.
Debt-free landscaper.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that phenomena, which has helped such a well-received brand and staple part of helping people out with contracts and things that you wouldn't really want to, thoughtfully spend a lot of time on, but are so critical.
Yes.
That it's not even funny.
Very. So
you filled a huge need, sort of like my Launchpreneur Academy. So all these little inception ideas that have materialized in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
So you and I have been, on this journey together. It's been really cool. Of course, helping each other in business.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about that on the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's just really simply carry on with where we left off. Where we're going to end up starting is the final chapter of where you see Bedell Property Management.
Yeah.
And then we'll start skipping around on a couple different thoughts. So before we jump into it, let's hear from the show sponsors on this episode, and then we'll dive right back into it.
Boom! Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on ballard-inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right, guys. So we're back in studio. We're rocking and rolling with the ads. We're rocking and rolling with the story. Thank you so much for you guys for supporting Ballard Inc. and Brian's 10 with that partnership for all your mower accessories. Guys, I just get so excited when we do this whole podcasting thing. Mike goes, don't forget the ads. I go, oh yeah, we should probably pay for the studio, right? So anyway, shout out to Corey Ballard and those guys, great people. So we're going to wrap up with BPM, because I cut that off a little short in the last one, but the podcast was about an hour and a half. So let's do this. The last few years of BPM is actually kind of a cool way to introduce the first few years of our partnership.
100%.
Because the last, just to recap the last episode, the last decade or so, you grew a pretty decent sized company, started to refine and prune and find your happy place.
Mm-hmm.
You're lean and mean.
Yes.
You've rebranded, not necessarily changed the brand, but you've re-identified and branded yourself.
Yes.
in your company. So, and that's kind of when we started to bump into each other.
It totally was. Yeah, it was shortly after I decided that we were going to be a leaner, meaner Bedell Property Management. I was going to go back out in the field. I was not really going to be. I was still going to sell all the jobs, but it wasn't like a sales, a managerial owner type role.
Okay.
I was going to be back out in the field. I was going to be performing work again. I was going to take a lot of the quality and just put it on my back. And I've had some staff. I typically have a person or two during the summer.
Sure.
I've had subcontractors like Brandon from Vision Landscape Solutions is lended a hand when he's available.
Yep.
So that's kind of the newer phase of the company. But yeah, that was right about the time we met, Brian, was when I made that decision.
2015, 16?
Yeah.
17?
Yeah, 16, 17. I'd say somewhere right in there. I think it was probably like the Weingartz steak fry of what, 17?
Yeah. Taking it back.
Yep. Yeah, totally. But it was in those last years prior to us meeting where I basically had saw the writing on the wall. The same mistakes were happening over and over again. And it was like, do we want to continue spending time, money, and effort battling the same problems?
Sure.
Or do I want to just realize maybe some things that we're just not fit to do? I'm not fit to do. Maybe those just aren't things that I ought to be doing.
Sure.
And there's no shame in admitting any of that. And so in turn, I just focused on what I knew would work, what I knew would make us money.
Sure.
What I knew would be a good, worthwhile investment of my time. And I've never looked back on that because I quickly realized that I was making the right decisions, and I was seeing it on the financial end of things. But when you have clients you've worked for years coming up and, bringing you a bottle of water on a warm day,
right,
but then making the comment like, hey, Mike, you've never looked happier.
Yeah.
You've been in our yard for years.
Yes.
But like I was saying to my wife while you were out there working, like, doesn't Mike just look so happy? And have somebody tell that, or different people tell you that time and time again,
right?
And then see financial results, see happier. Sure. I'm a happier person. I'm a better significant other in my relationship.
Right.
I have more time for family.
Less stress.
Yeah. I talked in the last episode, and hopefully you guys get a chance to listen to that, about how heart attacks have run in my family.
Right,
and I can be a ticking time bomb, or I can be really cognizant of that and at least do everything in my power to try and not repeat the past. And so I stand by the decisions I've made. And
you're happy where your company is today?
Very happy. Very, very happy. Because part of what slowing down to speed up allowed me to do was develop a plan. And I know you're doing some of that same planning right now.
Yep.
In terms of not just figuring out how to be successful today, but turn your success today into an actual wealth strategy.
So let me speak on that really quick.
Yeah. Because
this is something that the Launchpreneur word that I subscribe to, I think you subscribe to.
Yes.
We would use so we're not lawn care owners.
No.
I'm not a lawn care business owner. I do own a lawn landscape company, but the play on it is Launchpreneur. Well, what is Launchpreneur? Launchpreneur to me is all encompassing of, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a launchpreneur. I own a lawn landscape company, but that's not my only thing. That's not my identity.
That's correct.
And if you just want to have a lawn care company, cut grass, do landscaping, dude, awesome. I'm 100% all in. But launchpreneur to me, or the word entrepreneur to me, is, imagine an umbrella. It's BNL Enterprises, Brian and Liz Enterprises, right? And we have Brian's Law Maintenance. We have Motivated Media. We have Fullerton Unfiltered. We're going to have real estate. We're going to have XYZ PDQ company, hotels or restaurants, right? So that's kind of the people that I think really enjoy my content, to be honest with you, Bedell. I'm not just trying to teach you how to make 40 grand cutting grass.
Right.
Like you have, so this is something I'm going to tee up to you, and you can volley and knock it out of the park and speak to this over the next decade plan that you have. But you guys got to understand is that you take active income to buy assets.
Yes.
Assets create passive income, and passive income buys stupid stuff.
Yes.
Can be your liabilities and your doodads.
So you
go for it.
I see, Brian saying he wants to buy a Tesla and stuff. And
Sure.
as far as like a lawn guy, a lot of people go, what? But it's because Brian's maybe not planning on taking his Brian's Lawn Maintenance money and buying a Tesla.
Right.
He's projecting into the future where he's taking the active income that he makes today in his traditional business and turns them into other businesses that generate passive income. And those companies create so much passive income that when he goes to Liz and says, all right, Liz, I'm going to pull the trigger and buy a Tesla, she goes, okay.
Right.
Because it's not like you're doing what? Well, where are we going to get the money to pay for that? It's like, well, yeah, of course. Which business is paying for the Tesla, honey?
Yes. Right. $1,200 a month of passive income to a business that's doing 15 to 20 grand a month might not be that big of a deal.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying you can pay cash. I'm not saying pay cash is a wrong thing, a right thing, a bad thing. It just depends. But if you want to buy liabilities and doodads, this takes it so back to Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep.
Right. We did a video. If you guys haven't watched it on YouTube, it was the most underrated video of 2019, which was my top 10 business books video.
Great video.
Yep. I did top 10 business books. I plugged every book with the Amazon link in the description.
Yeah.
My top 5 business podcasts, my top 5 Green Industry Podcast, Paul Jameson, Julio, those guys. And so I'm a big guy where you have to create these assets.
Yeah.
Right. Arguably, my YouTube channel has become a business. Now, so here's the deal. I knew that the last 10, 12 years, kind of Wayne Gretzky, we're both hockey guys.
Yep.
Skating to where the puck is going to go.
Yep.
That's a Wayne Gretzky ism.
Yep. And 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in.
Ooh, this guy's dropping bombs. Okay, so why don't you speak to that? Because, running a lawn and landscape company, I always say it's a great start, potentially a horrible finish. Now, here's what I mean is that we're in a very physically taxing industry. You will get a 10, 20, 30-year shelf life out of your body.
Yes.
But what my opinion is that you need to make a buco bucks, which is take that money and then reinvest into Airbnbs, real estate, apartments, Cardone Capital. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that can create passive income. Now, here's why I say that. I'm just giving you guys the secret, the elephant in the room is that eventually in our industry, you're probably going to get physically outed.
Yes.
Right. So unless you grow a $5 million company with 200 employees and you have that bigger picture like a Troy Clogg or Corey Ballard, it's going to be really hard for you at 50 years old to go cut grass and run a whip.
And if you're paying attention to podcasts, our buddy Julio at the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, who's a really awesome guy, just couldn't say enough good things about Julio, but he's been extraordinarily transparent for all of us that as he ages, he has gout. It's becoming very hard for him to, go to a GIE and walk around, let alone go walk around all his clients' yards. And he's discovering that he doesn't know when he's going to have good days and bad days.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily matter totally even on the behaviors that he has or whether he goes and does something fun with his family or sits on the couch. It just is what it is.
Or how passionate you still are.
Yeah. I mean I touched on that in the last episode I did where there's been moments where I didn't even know if I wanted to do this anymore,
right?
And that's not a physical thing taking you out of it, but like everyone's journey is going to come to an end, and hopefully it's a decision you're making into it. But those always don't. It doesn't always go that way,
right? Well, and by the way, I don't just speak from being critical about our industry. Like that's not the point.
No, not at all.
The point is I'm trying to pass on some OG advice that I hear from guys who are 50, 60 that would tell me, hey, like, don't spend your money on stupid stuff, reinvest for the future. Either two options. Take your money, reinvest, take your money and grow a big company. It's kind of like the two outs.
Yep.
And by the way, that's why I'm so passionate, and I'll probably talk about it till I'm blue in the face, about getting your numbers right.
Yes.
Because here's when you're growing a company, you can't just make money for today. One thing I learned from Bedell, so kudos to you, is you have to not only make money for today, but for future growth.
Yep.
And if you're undercutting or cutting or charging like a flat, like you're neutral, like you're not gaining any headwind, then you cannot take that surplus, that excess, and invest for the future.
Nope.
So when you're like, oh, this guy's cutting for 30, I'll do it for 25. There's this exponential negative cycle.
Yep.
Because you're not only robbing from today, you're robbing from tomorrow.
100%.
This is super important, dude. Re-listen to what I just said if you need to hit the rewind 30-second button.
Yeah. In fact, everyone rewind and listen to that again, because that's spot on. That was one of the biggest reasons why I walked away from having a bigger company. And like I hit on, we'd spent a lot of time, effort, and money, and I realized I wasn't getting any of that back. And I could keep spinning those tires, but I only got so much time in this industry.
100%.
And you've got to produce. It's a lot like sports, man. You've got to produce, and you've got to produce today. And we're in the winning business. And if you're not winning, you need to go get into something else, because we only get one shot at this, Brian. We only get one shot at this life, one shot to get out there and make money, one shot to provide for ourselves, provide for our family, achieve our goals. If you want to actually get out there and go do those things, you can't undercut people. You've got to actually develop a plan, stick to it, and then be humble about it. And if you can't do that, put people around you who will keep you humble and will hold you accountable, because it's amazing, guys. We believe that we have to work 20, 30, 40, 50 years to go out and achieve something with ourselves. But then we see people on the internet who do it in a day or two or week or month, and they make more money than some of us will in our entire lifetime.
Well, why don't you speak for your strategy? Because you got another 5-10 years that you want to participate. And there's no right or wrong answer. Like, you can do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Now, you have a wealth strategy, and I think we could talk about this for 5-10 minutes, and then I know everybody wants us to talk about YouTube and all this other mess and in our story. But I don't want to finish the thought we had from your first interview, which we just shut it down quick to save some time. So why don't you speak the next 5 or 10 years? What's kind of like macro picture for BPM and Mr. Bedell, and no right or wrong answer. What's some ideas that might help some of the guys listening?
Yeah, so like Brian has touched on, I have taken the income from Bedell Property Management and started moving it into other things, and the
CBD for sure.
Yeah,
and it's a joke, by the way. So maybe I don't know.
No. Yeah, that's funny. That's super hype in our area now.
It is,
like
dude.
they that's apparently like, in fact, I've had clients who've like gotten in on that, and I'm just like, I laugh because they're kind of like in on everything. So like, it's just like, I bet you are.
Yeah, I've this sounds really bad, but I have some Chaldean customers. They're my bros and my cousins, and we live in Metro Detroit, so there's a lot of Chaldean. Great, they're hustlers, bro, and I love my Chaldeans. Everyone they come out, bro, I got my cousin, bro, and he's got this investment. I'm like, look, dude, I'm out. Like, I'm like Shark Tank, dude. I'm out.
No, we're not plowing your grow operation. But thanks for asking.
No, not at all. But anyway,
yeah. So no, don't turn it into that. But no. So seriously, I've taken the income, and we touched on it in the last episode. I've had some opportunities that have come BPM's way that originally were ran through BPM. We did some consulting work for a publicly traded company that recently sold.
Yeah.
That develops malls. We helped them wrap up a project in Hawaii, another one in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then we stepped away from doing some of that stuff for a little bit. My dad actually went on his own with a couple other business partners, opened up a co-working space.
Yeah.
I focused on BPM. I helped all you guys out by launching Debt Free Landscaper. We'll get into all that in a little bit. But most recently, this year, and this is part of the reason I actually haven't had a lot of time to dedicate to Debt Free Landscaper, is I launched a new business that I'm the majority owner of. My dad is a small partner in, and it's called Ursuland, named after Ursula, my grandmother.
Oh.
And it's a real estate investing and development company.
Oh.
And so
nice.
We're working on a project in Miami Beach right now for a developer that purchased some land next to their existing malls, having issues with the city getting permits and contractors and just a whole host. Truthfully, this is all stuff that's a little bit more my dad's wheelhouse. I do help on in some capacity, but that's kind of like his gig at Ursuland.
Okay.
And I'm focused on like the business operations. It looks like we might be acquiring some real estate in that area. We've got another spot up in Grand Blanc that we own that was a good opportunity. We've got
told me about that.
Yep, we've got some land up north, about a half hour from Traverse City that's going to be developed on in 2021.
Sure.
And so I'm taking what I've learned business-wise at BPM and taking the money that I've made, and I'm now investing into real estate. And that is a small part of my wealth strategy.
Sure.
And so BPM, the next the plan is 10 to 12 years, continues to operate very similar to how it is now, but over the next 10 or 12 years is there to help in the assistance and growth of Ursuland and help us complete projects in whatever capacity we can. And in reality, the more opportunities that come with that, the less time I'll have for some of our existing clients.
Right.
So there is actually a 10-year phase-out plan of 10 years from now, we aren't going to be working for very many of the same clients because there's just not the time to do it.
Right.
I'm anticipating some of those people possibly moving on. So the phasing may change a little bit, but 12 years from now, I move at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So just because on paper I can retire at 40 or 45 years old,
right,
doesn't mean I'm going to like sit still and be able to
I do not see that out of you.
Yeah, just sit on a beach
like
and read books and just play golf. Or
you probably do it at your pace.
So that's the plan is literally on paper at that point over the next 10, 15 years, BPM phases out. I'm making less company. The company has a smaller balance sheet at that point. But it gives me something to do a handful of days a week. Any projects I'm actively involved in, I've got a company that can do a lot of different things.
Sure.
And I also have a company that can manage doing a lot of different things if I physically can't anymore. So this plan gives me lots of options.
Do you think that you'll eventually sell BPM?
No. No intention. I mean, I'll never say never. To quote our mutual good friend, Dan Weingartz, when people say, hey, Dan, how much for this lawnmower? And he goes, the whole building's for sale if you got enough money. Like, how much is the lawnmower? How much financing you got? I'll sell you all the stores.
Shout out to the Weingartz.
And Dan says that jokingly, but also, like, partly serious. Like, he's a business guy and he understands value. And you made him the right offer. If he could set his great-grandchildren up, I don't think the man would say no to it.
Right.
Because he's worked really hard to build that empire, and him and Ron and Ken and the rest of the family deserve all that.
Do you think people? Okay, so here's what you guys got to remind yourself is that you're building a business.
Yes.
Granted, some of us are quote unquote self-employed.
Yes.
Right. Where and people are like, well, are you self-employed or are you a business owner? Well, technically, every document that I says I have a business. Okay, so like whether you want to get lost in the weeds about that as an owner operator, I don't care.
The whole self-employed thing is big business people talking down to little business people, and that has its place. I'm not going to say that those people are wrong, but I was having lunch with a guy who works at a bigger company, and he wants to go off on his own, and he was telling me about how he went to lunch with literally one of like the big boy figureheads of the industry who's certainly at a Troy Clogg level.
Right.
And that guy didn't disagree with his plan, but was kind of just like, oh yeah, but you're going to need to have employees and all this stuff. And he was like, oh, I was just going to try and get out there, do it myself, and maybe have a guy help me and blah, blah, blah. And this guy who runs a multi-million-dollar business just couldn't see it. And I had to say, well, yeah, but you got to remember this guy, he hasn't been out in the field in decades. Like that's just the lens of life he views it through. So he can speak to whether your business plan is right and those type of things, but you got to take it with a grain of salt when he says, what, like get out there and actually physically do the work. I'm not so sure about that. Well, in his world, that's not how that works.
No.
But you got to live in your world.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like the definition of a B, according to Robert Kiyosaki, is somebody with 500 things working for them or more, and somebody who can leave the business for 18 months, come back. It's automated, it's running, and it's bigger than when you left it.
Right.
Fantastic. Fan-effing-tastic. Here's the bottom line. According to my tax documents, how I file my tax documents, and everything else in between, there's one word: behave. So everything I do, I behave like a big business.
Yeah, so I was going to say, Tom Wheelwright says it doesn't matter where you are on the the cash flow quadrant. If you operate and act like a B or an I, you become a B or an I. You just have to actually not want to operate. You have to actually operate. And you can speak to, now that you're operating like that, it's going pretty great, isn't it?
The last 2 years, people have no idea. Like I've had to, I call this, I've had to like look at myself, unzip the body, take out 8 different organs, my business, fix everything, put it all back in the suit, zip it back up. Oh, we're a lot prettier. But there wasn't anything like negative, like cancerous, but there was a lot of unfinishedness in my back end of my business, my life.
100%. And as your friend who came from a big business background and seeing people operate at a much more macro level than a lot of people in our business operate at, that
you could see the writing on the wall.
Well, and that's why I said, hey, dude, like, I think you're going to be really successful here as your friend.
Yes.
So, like, hey, what about this? And what about this? And, like, I never nagged you. I never tried to nag you about it. But, like, when the time came down the road where you were like, yeah, so I'm going to meet with these people and I'm thinking about doing this, I was like, you should go do that. I think that's an excellent, Brian. In fact, keep me posted on that because, like, just because I'm sitting at a good spot doesn't mean that, like, maybe I won't have some conversations with those people. So definitely you need to go do that.
Right.
But, like, as your friend, I'm cheering you on, and keep me apprised.
Well, and so the reason I bring all that up is to go full circle to the fact that you own a business, and you can sell the asset. You can move out of the asset.
You totally can.
Whether you want to just sell your route, your bit, it doesn't make any difference.
And so that's the beauty of it, is my wealth strategy. Like, I don't have to get wild and do that type of stuff, and like, oh, but it's totally contingent on me being able to sell my business for this amount of profit in 10 or 20 years. Because I don't have a big operation like a Troy Clog, the chances that an investment firm are going to come offer me a big check that puts me on a beach for the rest of my life, and that's something that I'd want, it's not nearly as likely. And so
it's not something you're banking on.
Yeah. So in turn, like, BPM is there to help me achieve my goals. And that's in terms of my wealth strategy. That's exactly how it's reflected. It literally allows me to achieve some of the other goals in my wealth strategy.
Sure.
In terms of being able to have the income to do it, in terms of being able to have the equipment and the knowledge to be able to do some of those things and make them happen, and possibly do them. It's not even at a cost savings. Do them at a, like, I'm not going to mess this up and cost myself a bunch of money.
Sure.
I can be the person that gains time on this project instead of making it take longer.
Cost money.
Play to my strengths on stuff, and beyond that, it'll give me something to do to slow down eventually.
Well, who's the Wilson guy? Is it Bob? Bob Wilson, the guy, Wilson Stein Confident area.
Oh yeah,
Bill
Wilson.
Yeah, he's like that guy is a character, man. I love Bill Wilson. And he runs like restaurants and investments and real estate, and mega successful where we live. And he's been in the industry for probably 30, 40 years.
Yep.
But dude, the nicest guy you ever meet. If you bump into him, you know who I'm talking about. He's over here in Wixom Novi Commerce, and but he's probably 50, 60, and he still does more lawns than some of these young cats do.
Yep.
But it just keeps him moving, keeps him fresh, keeps him young.
He just can't sit still, and there's no shame in that. And so he's somebody that is our plans are different, but they're very similar.
Sure.
Where he didn't go the way that everyone else went, but he seems to be sitting in a very good spot at the end.
When you have a $600,000 retaining wall in your front yard, you probably have done okay. Beautiful home, great guy. I've had some 2-hour, 3-hour conversations with him. It's hard not to because he's a talker.
He's a talker, but he's a good dude. He's a real good dude.
Well, so here's one thing that you just said that really kind of got the lightning bolts going. This is a different kind of a conversation than just always interviewing people on the podcast. So hopefully you guys appreciate this. But imagine this is that you made me think about was it Rick with a Hurricane?
Yeah.
Right. He was an owner operator.
Yep.
Grew a small business.
Totally.
Noticed a need and created Hurricane blowers.
Yeah.
Nick Carlson. He grew multi-million-dollar lawn landscape company.
He sure did.
And now he's running Mulchmate.
Doing great.
And I hope Toro buyers, somebody writes him a check for something with 6 or 7 zeros in it.
That's going to be a fun. I can't wait to have a ginger ale with Nick Carlson and have that conversation when that happens, because I'm sure he's just going to be like, man, I guess I got to go race my race car now because I ran the landscape company, and then I had to do this Mulchmate thing, and then Cartmate, and then Truckmate, and I'm sure there's a couple other ideas he's already got up his sleeve for next year, and eventually. That's that. If he wants that to come, that will definitely come for him. And I just can't wait to really give my friend a hug and be like, buddy, go race that race car,
dude. He's gonna go from running his lawn landscape car. He had a super successful business,
and he still how we know that's true is because he still goes and hangs out with those people. He still films at the shop. He still goes and helps those guys out. Like, that wasn't like a sell out and move on. It was like, but you can't get rid of me, and I'm gonna make sure you guys win all the time. Dude, he's such a good dude.
So take the fact that it's going to be Dawson Manufacturing. It's going to be Dawson Racing, like NASCAR level. Like, he's like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, who sold out PayPal.
Fence Armor might just have to sponsor his car too, right?
Yeah, or Brian's Law Maintenance or Entrepreneur Academy.
Hey, dude, we'll put a debt-free landscaper logo on the back of that window, baby.
NASCAR brought to you by Steel and Debt-Free Landscaper, and Brian's Law Maintenance. Anyway, we're just being nerds. But here's the deal: you can do that. Don't the first few years I was was in the first decade, I'll be honest, I was in survival mode.
We all were, man.
You know,
like when I was a musician, when you were working at Little Caesars,
yeah.
You know, I was trying to, what did I say in the last episode, if you guys caught it? I was talking about how I was trying to not wash dishes. Like you were trying to like figure out how not to sell pizzas or any of those things. And I'm sure there are people listening to this that are like, wealth strategy, invest for passive income. Like, guys, I'm trying to figure out how to pay this bill so my girlfriend doesn't kill me at the end of the week. And so
that's a season.
Yeah, and
we've all been there.
And then so own that season, but know that if you keep embracing the suck and keep going for it, eventually you're going to wake up one day smarter and wiser and wealthier. And if you've participated in this awesome community you have a whole bunch of people around you all over the country who want you to succeed and love you. And so if you start owning those things, you're going to wake up a few years from now and it's not going to be about, I can't pay this bill anymore. It's going to be, I guess I need to start developing a plan so I can do something with this money and make sure that like the people that I love are taken care of for the rest of their lives.
Well, you know, it makes me think about the fact that, you know, every day on the lawnmower, you know, I'm listening to podcasts, music sometimes, but then, you know,
break it up. But you and I spend a lot of time audiobooks, podcasts. We're information junkies. So we're not just working, we're working and learning all the time.
Dude, I'll tell you straight up, the last 24 months, you know this, I'm like devouring every real estate book, every real estate thing. You and I talk Airbnbs and rentals and flip. And I mean,
because if you want to go from feeling like you know some stuff to not, in the last episode we talked about, you know, I have a horticulture degree, I have a landscape designer. So you guys want to talk about soil horizons or mycorrhizal soil or like which plant we should put here, depth of retaining wall base, like, you know, you guys listen to Caleb Allman and I have awesome conversations about that type of stuff. For
number 57 open grade snow, babe.
There you go, man. Talk about somebody who knows what they're doing. That guy is
me?
Caleb Allman.
I don't know what I'm doing. Caleb Allman knows what he's doing.
But like, you know, nerding out on all that stuff only takes you so far, and it'll allow you to be successful. But
eventually you got to do something with the money.
Totally. And so if you want to go start venturing out of your comfort zones, like I referenced the Bigger Pockets podcast. I got so into that last summer because after like 2 episodes, I was like, wow, everyone on this is so much smarter than I am. And I want to be like these people when I grow up.
100%.
And so here's what's crazy. Not even a year later, I am one of those people now.
Right.
I own real estate. I'm looking at like, I didn't even tell you this because we've just been chatting away. Yeah. But I'm hearing back tomorrow whether I actually get another piece of land under contract up north.
Good for you.
Yeah. I put in an offer yesterday on it, and they have until 5 p.m. tomorrow to accept my offer. Wow. Contractually, I'd probably actually let them take as long as they want.
McDonald's over here, Ray Kroc, buying the all up North Michigan.
Well, no, but if there's the right opportunity, and this is actually an opportunity that would allow us to abate hotel rooms, basically.
Oh, okay.
Abate hotel rooms, allow us to store equipment up there.
Yeah.
I've looked at other places, but you know, could I stay there? Could I Airbnb it? Yeah, but can I show up with an F-350 and a tractor and a trailer and park it overnight?
Yeah.
Because I'm coming up for the weekend to do X, Y, and Z on this property.
Sure.
Or coming up for the week. Those were always issues. And it's funny, up north, there's a lot of places to park, but like, whether it's for sale right now, HOAs. Yeah. I looked at a spot on Lake Otsego. Would have been awesome. Would have made an amazing Airbnb. Could have never parked a trailer there. Would have been towed immediately.
Well, there you go.
So this is a spot that would allow. So we'll see if it doesn't pan out. There'll be something else, man. But it's crazy. If you get out there and learn, you never know where you'll be in a year. Especially if you got the money to go make it happen.
Dude, it's so funny. Like we didn't plan any of this conversation, by the way. This is cool. This is why I like it being an unfiltered format.
Yeah, we just talk about whatever.
Well, because so many people, Mike, are like pegging me with questions. Like, what are you going to do with Brian's Law Maintenance and the YouTube channel? Are you going to go full-time YouTube or do that? I go, bro, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Liz and I talk about this, and you know our life. This is the last 8 or 9 months. It's been the first 8 or 9 months where we haven't had to like overly stress out about money. We're not rich. by any means. I talk about like Mike knows what I make with YouTube. Like we're making money, but we're not making like Logan Paul money. Okay.
And I would say that it's funny that the past couple years, that's really been a parallel for both of us.
Yeah.
Is like, you know, what's enough money? Well, that's different to everybody that's listening to this episode.
Right.
But for whatever reason, whatever that number is for each of us, like, yeah, I've felt like this huge. My girlfriend and I use the analogy: how full is your backpack all the time? And if you remember those days of high school, I don't know how kids do it now. It might all be on a laptop, but back when we were in school, you had books for every class, and your backpack got freaking
40 pounds, man. It was half your body weight.
You know, there's sometimes like I was telling one of the gals at Echo about this, and she's like, "That is so true," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm telling you because your backpack looks really full right now."
Right.
And she's like, "It is. It's very full." And so, like, hey, your backpack might be full. Like, you know, deal with where you're at right now, but it'll get better.
Right.
And when it does, take the time to develop a plan because we're not working at a desk most of the time. We're out in the field. We can get hurt. We can get injured. Even if we don't, our bodies are going to slow down. Guys, I'm about to be 33 here.
Yeah.
And I look like I'm 43.
You don't look that bad. But we take naps. You know, I take naps.
So you asked at the last episode what was something I would tell 18-year-old me. Well, it wouldn't be the first thing, but the other thing I'd be is all that energy you got right now. You are like, so you have the energy of like a 4-year-old right now to me. Like you're going a million miles, like you go. Like I remember I could,
without sleep, 2 days.
Dude, I could go play a show, get home at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then like get up at 8 a.m. and cut grass.
Yep.
And like not
big
really,
deal.
not feel
McDonald's.
sick. Like, eat junk food during
Taco
the day
Bell.
and not like have it destroy my stomach. Dude, none of those things are even possible now. Like I have to watch what I eat.
A bunch of old
I have to
farts.
get enough sleep or I like don't feel good.
Totally, dude. You're moody, you're short. Yeah.
All that stuff. So like you said, we got to take naps. So those things, I mean, you guys can laugh as we're saying all those things, but these things are in your future. I hope maybe you guys can make it to 40 till it happens instead of 30 like me.
Totally.
But it's going to come one day. So if you've got a plan and you're working that plan, you know, and guess what? I'm expecting some things to go awry in my wealth strategy. That's why it's actually not like everything is highly achievable in it. In fact, it's say there's a decent chance that we could just run the score right up on it.
I like it.
But even if it just went okay, it's probably about what it says right now.
So here's my takeaway. Have a bigger vision and plan and idea.
100%. And it can be literally whatever you want. So I said the last episode, don't let like your ego or what other people want for you matter.
Right.
So you touched on like books that have helped you and stuff like that. Those books have helped me.
Yeah.
But those books have also kind of messed me up a little bit in the sense that you might have some core values and beliefs that came from family members or your upbringing.
Sure.
And you might be operating for 10, 20, 30, 40 years of your life believing those things to be true until you read a book that makes you feel otherwise, that actually resonates with you more than anything you've almost read in your entire life. And you're like,
it'll challenge you.
Oh my gosh, I need to just go do this for the rest of and you try it and it works and you're like, well, where was this all along? And then, you know, you start implementing those things like we've done in our lives. And just ironically, like now we don't feel like our backpack is strangling us with bills and family problems and business problems and inadequacies and entrepreneurial bipolarism and all those terrible things that we're all going to have at one point or have in our lives right now. You can make it out the other side of it. You just got to keep trucking.
Well, and by the way, I know what we're talking about right now. It sounds kind of like esoteric, in thought. Because unless you're like probably 30, this last half hour may relate to you, may not.
Yeah, you might be like, where are these guys coming from? This? Can we please talk about like the new backpack blower that's coming out?
I get it. I totally get it. But if you're 18 to 28, just know that the money you're making, how many times have you heard me say, Bedell, don't go blow your money on girls or stupid stuff?
Yep, because you're never going to get it back.
Yeah, and I mean chasing girls. I don't mean locking down a girl or a wife, okay? Not the same thing. I mean chasing it, trying to be GQ, buying clothes, buying Gucci, buying stupid stuff. The number one piece of advice I always give is reinvest. And by the way, reinvest doesn't always just mean into your landscape company. Remember, we're not lawn care owners, we're entrepreneurs. We're entrepreneurs.
Right.
Reinvest into real estate, reinvest into restaurants, reinvest into 200 vending machines, bro.
Learning, figure out, that's the beauty of YouTube. You can get out and watch videos and learn. Like 30 years ago, you had to just buy some vending machines or buy a restaurant. And now you get to kind of like live vicariously through other people on the internet and see some of their struggles. And that's what's awesome. YouTube, I think the people that do really well with all that stuff, like why, in my opinion, what is one of the biggest reasons that Caleb Alman crushes it on social media? I keep bringing him up, but he's a good dude.
Oh, great friend of the show.
Yeah, very good friend of the show, is because, and I've said this, I think, on a couple other shows, I like how open and honest he is. And like, dude, he'll admit every inadequacy and mess up. And like, I don't, my ego probably couldn't handle all that.
Sure.
And a lot of people's couldn't, but he's good at doing that. And so in turn, like, it doesn't matter whether you do what you might cut grass and he does retaining walls, but you're like, oh man, I've screwed up like that. Like, dude, that's super honest.
Sure.
Oh man, like that's so awesome and raw that he puts himself out there. Like, at least in my opinion. So that's the beauty of social media, is like you can learn about like all the not so glamorous things of, even a lot of, let's be real, a lot of people glamorize the whole YouTube lawn care thing.
Sure.
And I think it's starting to come out that like, sure, there's some awesome things about it. There's some really terrible things about it too.
Yep.
And in turn, that's why, it's not for everyone.
I will echo that. And I always say, if you want to get rich with YouTube, God bless. I will be the first one to tell you, go do it. Have some fun. It's wide open no matter what anybody says. Just maybe evaluate doing lawn care YouTube, because if you want to do prank channels, if you want to do family vlogging, if you want to do, like the kid toy unboxing,
totally
go do that.
We've talked about this, and I touched on it in the last episode. Like, do I want to be a musician again? No, especially because I see a lot of my friends that
in the traditional sense,
in the most realistic, like, unless they can figure out how to become Rihanna, like they aren't going to make enough money to achieve their goals to the point where their wives are going to stay with them, or like,
or
they can move out, or they can move out of their mom's basement, and so I touched on some of that. But how, like, I have noticed there are guys now on the internet who are, they're getting bigger guitar deals than guys who are out on the road, and totally what you said. You've mentioned that, like, is the sky always the limit for your YouTube channel? Undoubtedly, but you acknowledge that it's in the lawn care industry. And so since we brought it up, like, there are people that are friends of friends that have music YouTube channels that have millions of followers. That makes Stanley Dirt Monkey's channel seem extraordinarily small.
100%.
And so it's all relative, right? And so, like you were saying, get into something like that's much more broad brush and relatable, like music or unboxing children's toys.
Well, that's why Liz and I want to have kids,
Yeah.
Two reasons. I don't know if I told you this. One is to be relatable still with technology, because, we need to have kids so they can teach us how to use the new cell phones, because I'm finding out more and more.
Oh, man. Talk about so there's another fun surprise in your 30s, is that you wake up one day and all the cool, like, no one's marketing to you anymore. You're not cool. You don't know how to, like, use stuff. Like, you used to fly through. Like, I was asking you about this mixer in front of us, and you're like,
I hit 3 buttons, bro. Thanks to Paul Jameson. There's 38 buttons in front of me. I use 3.
Dude, 18-year-old us would have, like, been, like, nerding out on, like, the specs of everything. Like, oh, how many XLR ports versus quarter-inch cables? Oh my goodness. Like, but as you get older, like, those things are lost on you a little bit, unless it's lawn care equipment.
Well, and then the other point, just so you know, Mike, is so we can start a kid toy unboxing channel.
There you go.
So I'm just kidding for all of the parents listening. So, like, that's like prostituting out your kids, with toy unboxing channels. I'm like, hey, for $21 million, what did that kid make last year? 21 or 26?
Do you know how expensive college will be in the year 2042?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure our kids are going to be homeschooled because I already Twitch, and I can only imagine if they get my genes. Can you imagine little mini-me's running around?
Little Fullertons.
Oh, boy. That's a thought for you. So,
I mean, we already see what Teddy's like. I'm kidding. Teddy's the best little boy.
He's half wolf, half crazy. 100% a-hole. So, anyway. But
he's a snuggler. He's a good boy.
He's my little dude. Well, dude, this is a really good transition to maybe talking about YouTube. And talking about how we met 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Feels like a little yesterday.
It feels like 10 years ago, and it feels like yesterday at the same time.
It's so weird to describe. But I know you have juicy stories and interesting insight and perspective that nobody else has.
Sure.
Other than probably like Liz.
Because she's got a whole other set.
She's seen the whole lineage, but you're in the thick. Yeah. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll hear from our sponsors again, which are Ballard Inc. We really appreciate those guys. And then we'll come on back and jump right into more talking about YouTube.
Boom! Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on Ballard-Inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right, guys, so we're back here. Again, shout out to Ballard Inc. and Corey Ballard with all their accessories. Great guys. In fact, I was just unboxing a package upstairs, Mike, if you saw that.
Yeah.
It had the first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, a capitalism shirt.
I saw that.
You gotta love that. And then there's like baggers and trailer racks, so many different things. So if you guys are growing a green industry business, which is what we're all doing here, a lot of their stuff, there's easy shoot, blah, blah, blah.
I'm eyeing up that Darwin grip. That's pretty neat.
It is, especially if you're taller. My employee, Rob, he's like 6'6".
He loves that thing.
He's a big boy, man. He's 19, 245.
Nice guy, though. Big teddy bear.
Yeah. Oh, nicest guy ever. But if we're playing football, I'm picking him first.
Yeah, dude. Definitely someone you want blocking for you.
100%. So, okay, so let's do this. This is we're going to speed round 30, 45 minutes because I don't want to capture you. Mike's actually been at my house for about 2.5 hours now. And I don't want to. Oh, my God. You've been over since 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's all good, dude.
I think at this point I start paying you to be on the show. So checks in the mail, ask Caleb Ballman. So anyway, so let's talk about, okay, so here let me start with a little bit and then you ad lib in, because the first year of doing YouTube, and by the way, I preface all this with, I'm not a big deal. We're not successful with it. We're just having fun. Okay. I get that there's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of sponsorships and brand deals. And, people think we're making millions. We make a couple bucks, but we're not Dirt Monkey. Okay.
No.
We're not Logan Paul. Okay.
Nope, definitely not.
I don't even pull in the views that you, like my channel probably should be. Right. So, I have fun with it. You guys got to understand, it's just literally designed to help the 10-year-ago me.
Yeah.
Save time, save hassles, make more money. Along the way, we created, the Launchpreneur Academy, which is just distilled meat, right?
Yeah.
It's just pure meat. So if you want to really learn the industry in honestly, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks in front of the computer, get the whole ball of wax bundle, boom. You can learn. Maybe you want a career change. Dude, I can shave 10 years off your business.
Talk about
insane.
The key is mentorship, right? Like I said last episode about like going to college was great for me.
Right.
It might be for you. It might not be. But at the end of the day, what do you need? You need mentorship.
Right.
Well, I'll say this. Buying everything Brian has on Launchpreneur.com and buying everything I have at Debt Free Landscaper.
Yes.
Go buy Caleb Allman's thing.
100%.
Go hire Paul Jameson to help with your bid. Go hire someone else. Like, even if you did all of those things, you'd still spend way less money than I did.
100%.
Than a lot of other people did for opportunities. So it would be
crazy
you
crazy
to take advantage of the amazing opportunities that are out there for you in 2020. me that just weren't there for us 10, 15, 20 years ago. Certainly weren't there for the Troy Clogs when he was, like he said, 19 years old and his parents were ready to kick him out of the house. And it's funny, side story real quick. I know a longtime friend of Troy's who went to high school with him. And when Troy's parents they didn't really kick him out. They let him live there, but not his equipment. They were tired of his first truck ever leaking oil in the driveway. He, the guy who actually used to live right by my parents, his parents let Troy. They lived in like historic area of Farmington Hills. They had an old barn that was like 100 years old. No one was using. They let Troy put his equipment in that barn in 1980 whatever when it was just a truck and just a trailer. And it was I'll tell you what. I hear you. Your parents are all over you. You can put your truck and trailer in my barn and sharpen your blades in there and do whatever. If you cut my grass for free for the summer. And it was like slick deal. And so
that's a good deal back then.
Yeah. So it's funny. Like we've all been there, and so you guys get that full cycle story, right? That Troy was just like the rest of us, one truck, one trailer, parents not approving of what he was doing, maybe like
you're ruining your future.
Well, and so what's funny is then like I've even though he's no longer with us, I've met Troy's dad, Bill, and Bill used to just come to Troy's shop all the time and like help out, like sweep the floor, just something to do. So, to also know that maybe even if the people in your life don't love it now, they'll be there for you one day.
I love it. it.
Yeah. So back into what we were talking about.
Well, but a lot of this whole everything that you guys see today, even the podcast, for crying out loud, this is all an extension of me just getting caught up in the momentum of it all and having fun with it all. You guys just so reciprocating and appreciating, which makes it more fun to do.
Totally.
But it didn't start that way.
No.
Okay, so 4 years ago, I've already talked about this whole story on another couple episodes, like Liz and I's story, and just, you guys, my story's pretty well documented. I literally had a DSLR camera I bought for the wife. She was going to do hair and makeup YouTube. I was a good husband. We had been married for maybe a year. And I'm like, every night for 3 months, Liz watched how-to YouTube videos.
Right.
And I was a good husband. So
Mike, you got this, babe. You're totally going to do this. So absolutely.
I was going to ask you the question. So what do you do? And you go, you get vested too.
Oh yeah,
that's what you do.
Yep. My girlfriend's has her first children. Yeah, she has her first children's book coming out next month. And the amount of drafts that I've read and color sketches I looked at, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
100%.
But if you really love your significant other, everything they're doing, you're doing, and everything you're doing, they're doing.
So I'm vested in the YouTube. Like 100%. I've always consumed YouTube. I love YouTube, but I never thought about making videos.
Yeah, no.
So the whole story is
because you were trying to make money.
I was just trying to grow a lawn business.
Yep.
And watch evolution of dance.
Yeah,
you remember those? Yeah. If you know 05, 06 YouTube, you're a true OG, right? Charlie, you bit my finger.
Yeah.
Okay, so
up there with like Chocolate Rain,
Chocolate Rain, exactly, dude. So all the 18-year-olds are shaking their head right now. Man. You don't know YouTube like it is today. You watch David Dobrik. That's not even YouTube. Do
you guys understand how amazing grainy video was?
Yeah, 240p or whatever. You know. Yeah. So I get Liz this camera, and we always joke if she would have did hair care and makeup today, for the last 5 years,
man,
shit, we'd be worth.
She wouldn't have even had to be good at it back in the day if she had just started and then eventually figured out how to go. But hey, you know what? That wasn't the way life took you guys.
No,
and that's just fine.
Well, that was like our secondary Bitcoin thing, right? Because everybody, because I did do some stuff with Bitcoin. We did make some money with Bitcoin.
Have you told everyone how much?
No,
maybe we shouldn't.
No. Nothing you see on YouTube or anything our lifestyle has ever come from that. We didn't make like millions, but I bought Bitcoin when it was like 3 cents, and then I bought computers that made Bitcoin. It paid my bills for about, I'd say 9 to 12 months. Like we cleaned up
back in the day.
But so I've always been hustling, bro. And
you were like, I remember one of the first conversations we had. You were like, Brian, I do this and I do this and I do this, and I was like, yeah.
How many? What?
And so but the end takeaway was like, oh, this guy's a hustler. Like it was like I haven't met a lot of people that like go at this level.
Sure. Okay, so let's do that. Well, let's just take it right to where I'm doing YouTube for about a year. I think I had about 1,000 subscribers.
Yep.
My total income for the year with YouTube was about 38 cents.
Nice.
Because
you were just pleased as punch that they finally were going to pay you something.
Yeah, like, Echo sent a trimmer. And you're part of the Echo program, and you get some of those perks.
Yeah.
But this was like 4 years ago. It was like groundbreaking. I'm like,
yeah, you were like the spearhead on that program. Like I truthfully, as someone who does participate in that program, a lot of the efforts that Brian and some other people put in, now like I get to reap the dividends of I got to inherit a somewhat well-oiled machine. That was all just things that people were trying, because this whole like lawn care this lawn care on the internet and people documenting their story and sharing it with others was like a new thing, and it was kind of starting to gain some traction. And big shout out to Echo for being ahead of the curve in understanding the value of that, and investing resources over the past several years to allow us to have opportunities like cool things at GIE, or helping Naylor with the after party that we have in the cave now, or your Launchpreneur Academy. They're that not only them, but Echo and some other brands, like they get it, like they've come along the way. But that was like you had 1,000 subscribers, you were starting to have like a company be like, okay, so experiment. If we were to send you a piece of equipment to try out and make a video on, how does that go?
Right. So this is so funny, because it wasn't even really a thing back then.
No.
Like, people see like, this guy's got so-and-so company sponsoring them, or this software company, or that equipment company. Like, that wasn't really a thing with influencer marketing.
No.
Now you'll never hear me say social media influencer. Like, I don't do that.
Nah.
I hate that. I don't say that. That's so cliche and cheesy and
I feel
cringe.
like that's something we have to use to describe it to people who like
are civilians.
Yeah, and don't like understand the internet real well, like
a boomer.
or the boomer's parents. How would you explain it to grandma? Like, yeah, I do stuff on the internet. You ever heard the term influencer on the news?
Yeah.
I guess they think I'm one of those.
Didn't some guy take a photo of a guy who's passed away in a forest?
Okay,
like, different.
No. Yeah. So I was gonna say, like,
it's so weird, bro.
Yeah.
So when I met you, I had 1,000 subscribers, which, by the way, I thought it was like, dude, I never, for real, sincerely, it's not lip service, I never thought we'd have more than 100, 200, 5. I mean, you guys got to realize
and neither did I.
Which is so funny. So
as one of Brian's best friends, like, and I didn't really understand the value of any of this either.
So we met up at Weingartz.
100%.
Just to fast forward, it was probably middle March, early March.
Yep.
And so many things kind of happened, dude. Just looking back on it, like. Okay, so if you haven't seen the who is the guy, Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
He did the Princeton address. He did this famous YouTube video. If you've never seen it, it's very popular. Look it up. But basically, he talks about how your life doesn't really make sense as you go through it.
Yes.
But when you look backwards, you're like, oh my God, I met this person for this reason, this person for that. So I meet Mike Bedell, and the other way of saying it is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So in terms of my actual traditional business, I was working it, but I didn't know what I didn't know. Like I wasn't. I don't even know how to really describe it. I wasn't like overly trying to grow it, but I was just doing it not super effectively.
You were doing the best with what you had at the time.
Yeah.
Like if anything, I think you were still like slightly overachieving at that point, because you hadn't failed. You were figuring it out.
Yeah.
But you were starting to become aware of like, if I'm going to do this, like I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I got to do that. And so like you were saying, like, whether you realized it or not, you were at a prime point in your business journey where you were starting to hit a point where doing it yourself without some type of mentorship
100%
was becoming difficult. And to circle back, that's why we keep hitting it home that mentorship is definitely one of the best things you can do.
Right.
And if you can like learn to accept that before you need to learn to accept it, you're going to be more successful.
Well, and here I was at Weingartz. I was eating a piece of steak. Shout out to Weingartz and those guys. Always a great environment.
Amazing.
And I was in there toting around my camera that you guys always see me bopping around on videos and at live events. Yep. And somehow, one way or another, you and I think it was like right at the double doors. Right there into their back warehouse, and. I don't know if somebody introduced us to each other or if you had just stopped me.
I remember exactly what it was.
You tell the story.
I was eating either a piece of steak or the delicious cake that they feed us afterwards.
Yellow cake.
And I see Brian with his camera. And in full disclosure, like I know the Weingartz family very well.
Yep.
One of the family members was my personal sales guy for a little while. So I definitely think of them as more than just a dealer guy who buys equipment. Like they really are family.
100%.
Like
when you get to know them,
such salt of the earth, good, warm-hearted people who they want to just see everybody succeed, and like they're at that point in business where they really do want everyone to succeed, because like they're just gonna keep succeeding, but like they're at a point where it's like
they've made their money.
Yeah, like if people only understood how much they give back,
100%.
But anyway, I've as someone who's well apprised to the large operation they have. My thought process when I saw Brian with his camera was, well, there's the photographer that Dan Weingartz hired to document this event so that he can put it in the newsletter, or they advertise with the Detroit Lions football team here, the Detroit Tigers. They have commercials. They do all sorts of marketing and television and radio. They have that famous jingle you've heard Brian so eloquently sing. Yeah, there you go. Everything from lawn to snow. It's so good.
It's so
good.
God.
Marketing, man. They're just so good at
it's
it.
A jingle.
And so my thought process is there's the camera guy that the Weingartz family is hired to take photos of like somebody checking out a weed whip and me shoveling cake into my mouth.
Sure.
And
great times by all.
And so they say don't ask questions you don't think you know the answer to, right? So I see Brian and I say, well, what are you doing with that camera? Thinking he's going to be like, oh, well, Dan hired me to take some photos. And someone said, why don't you get a piece of cake while you're here? So I'm just going to get some cake and sit down and enjoy myself. And you're like, instead, so, that's
I don't even know what I said.
So that's what I'm expecting the answer to be. And I was wrong. Instead, you turn and smile and go, I have a YouTube channel. And I remember I was stunned, and the only thing that came out of my mouth was, good for you.
Mr. People Skills.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like, at this point in time, you got to remember, no one in our industry, like, at that time, maybe Geek to Freak was doing his thing.
Maybe like 6-7 people.
Like
the B&Bs, the Keith Kalfuses.
Right. And nobody had thousands of followers. This was, like, real niched down. Like, was this a thing? Yeah, I guess. But, like, this was, like... At nowhere in time was it ever implied at this point in the lawn care journey that we're all on together that this would be a avenue where you might be able to not lose money.
Yeah, 100%.
And so when he said that, my thought process is good for you. And then I think I asked you some question about like, so when you're out there working, like how does your insurance company feel about some of this stuff like that? Like, because that's immediately where my mind went is like, I see how unsafe a lot of these people are.
Sure.
Like, you make some videos and then you randomly get a call from your insurance company like, yeah, Brian, you're not wearing PPE. We're going to need to let you go here. You're
very
a
technical.
Major liability to us.
We're self-insured, just so everybody knows.
We're going to avoid the claim, and you're going to need to get someone else.
Yeah, safe. Why do you think I'm so big on PPE?
Well, we got to figure it out. But, so anyway, I remember I asked him a question, and I was just like, okay, this guy's interesting. I think we exchanged numbers, and I remember I like walked away being like, guy's kind of a hustler though. Like, really? He came there to film a video while the rest of us are there to spend money.
Right.
Fascinating.
Right.
And then I don't even know that we chatted for another couple months.
So it's funny. This is needs to be said. A little bit of context for how Bedell and I think. Believe it. Okay, Bedell, you know me as good, if not as anybody, unless it's like my brother, my mom, my girl.
Right.
Seriously, no bullshit. Am I an outgoing person?
No.
Am I a people person?
Generally, no.
Am I in the party hype train person?
No.
Am I a stick to myself, quiet, leave me alone, I'll leave you alone person?
We both are.
Dude, it's so weird.
We both
Nobody
are.
believes
and
me.
So the fact here's the whole thing that you guys got to remember. It's not just me and Brian in this room. There's like 80 other people also eating cake and steak.
Yeah.
There's like 4 guys at a grill.
Yeah.
There's 30 Weingartz employees running around because the whole point of this steak fry is they have all their contractors down and this has become a little bit less of a thing, but the whole point of it, especially 10 years ago, was to load up on parts, especially in the days before
orders, yeah.
Amazon and getting parts on demand and all those fancy things. Was like, hey, come buy all your blades and trimmer line and edger blades and oil and gas oil mix for the year. We have some specials on handheld equipment. Xmark might be offering some deals on like lasers or fleet packages.
Right.
And it's basically come down, we'll feed you, we'll hang out, we'll have some good conversation and camaraderie.
Right.
Some of our manufacturers might have some giveaways. People are going to have deals on stuff. They
kind of build some excitement for the upcoming season.
And that's it. The season's a couple weeks away from breaking loose. So like, hey, let's get you guys all squared up, back in the mood. Like snow is hopefully basically about done.
Right.
Like, let's go get it and let's get you all loaded up. So we're there, 80 other people there, chaos is happening, steaks are being grilled. And so the fact that like Brian and I ended up close enough to each other, and that I, for whatever reason, rather than looking at anyone else and opening my fat mouth full of cake, I say
cake.
It was good cake.
It's like two atoms that should never cross.
Somehow I said, I was extroverted enough to ask a question, and you were extroverted enough to actually chat. And I want to say we chatted, and then Connor showed up.
Connor Shop did,
and us and his dad mutually chatted for like 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
and they knew who you were.
Yeah.
And I remember that also kind of like I feel like that's the part of the story that's never got told. Is Connor was there. Connor saw this happen.
Right.
His dad saw this happen.
Pulled him out of school.
Yeah.
Because we're at Steakhouse at 1 o'clock.
At 1, 2 in the afternoon, they pulled him out so he could meet you. And like, I'm taking this all in. Like, this is fascinating. This guy does YouTube.
Yeah.
Who even knows when he's making any money or this huge waste of time.
Yeah.
But there's some kid who convinced his parents to pull him out of school, take him to this, and his parents are either enough of pushovers, and I know his dad's not a pushover.
No, Greg is a great
all.
guy.
Dude, talk about a person who is a go-getter himself and a real motivator, a really good man. Talk about a great dad, right?
Yep.
So, good guy.
Yep.
So, if there's anybody who, now that I know him, would be like, oh yeah, you're not getting out of school. Like, I think he's an educator himself.
He's a teacher,
He's a published author.
Yep.
So, to convince someone of that caliber that, like, no, yeah, it's better for you to go to an equipment supplier and meet a YouTuber today.
Yeah.
Before YouTubers are really even a thing.
Wasn't even a thing.
For him to buy and go, yeah, that's what you need to be doing instead of being math, science, go to your gym class, play in band class.
Go do your homework.
Go do art or, whatever it is.
Sure.
That stuck with me that I was like, huh.
Well,
this is impactful.
What happened after that? I don't know if we didn't talk for a few months or maybe we were just kept in touch. But the fact that you and I exchanged numbers.
We exchanged numbers.
Probably had a decent conversation and decided to both let somebody else in.
Yes.
Because you had just done getting, like you had just talked about in your business. Pruning, thinning the herd, becoming lean and mean. You were not looking to necessarily like grow 1,700 new friendships. You're like, well, okay, let me ask you this. Were you not like jaded? It's probably the wrong word or term, but you were just like, I'm a little bit more calculated.
Well, I was more calculated, and I was coming out of like a pretty gnarly time in my life. A lot of crappy family stuff had just happened.
I remember, yep.
We were very shortly going to be putting down a family dog that played a very important part in my life. So,
yeah.
In fact, I think I said something to you along the lines of like, like, yeah, you wake up at 30 and you start crying because you realize like maybe this wasn't what your life was gonna look like. And I remember you being like, yeah, dude, totally. Me thinking like, this guy has no idea what I'm talking about right now. Right. Oddly enough, no, you knew exactly what I was talking about, but I'm thinking somebody, at the time, like, yeah, buddy, sure you do. Sure. But like, yeah, I remember that being us talking about that. And so, yeah, it was like I was coming out of a rough season, a rough couple seasons. Yeah, I was. Those were rebuilding years, right? To take it into sports, like we weren't making the playoffs. I was lucky to still have a team, right? Turning the corner, and people come into your life when you need them. And
I feel like you had just turned the corner.
Yeah.
And you were. It's not like you were negative or in zeros, but you had just turned this phase, the season.
That's it. And I'm super blessed that it's never like the company's never gone like way sideways or way upside down, but it was not a winning season. Right. It wasn't like, yeah, bro, I'm killing it over here. Mike Bedell, nice to meet you. Yeah. I was like, yeah, okay, nice to meet you. Do YouTube. Interesting. And truthfully, it like in that point in my life, what was the question I asked you? It was like, all about like liabilities and from kind of like a negative mindset of like, sure. Oh yeah, well, if you do that, you're going to get in trouble. Everyone's going to take everything away from you. Life will be terrible.
Possible. I don't remember, but
I remember saying that, and it's just like, what a crappy mindset to have. Like, and it's funny that you're still nice to me because I don't think I was mean to you, but I just remember, like, honestly, I remember being a little skeptical.
Sure.
Like, a little skeptical of, like, what is this kid doing? But then being a little less skeptical when I saw Connor and his dad, like, just so excited to talk to you, and me being like, this is very fascinating. And then I think you'd also shared with me that like you're about to have some opportunities with Echo, and that was all on the DL. Yep. But me just being like,
this was in March, and I got part of the UAG program April 4th. I went or 2nd or something. I went over to Illinois.
Yeah. So those things were all super fascinating.
Totally.
And I think fast forward a few months, you reached out and were just like, dude, I want to get into snow. Can we like get dinner sometime? And
it was over the summer because this is summer of 17.
Yep.
That winter, I'm about to buy a new truck.
Yes.
You knew my red F-150.
Yeah.
It was the.
You limped that thing along so long, dude.
Dude, people have no idea.
No idea.
Like I've had people, Bedell, like you've seen the chatter is what I call it. The people that are like, oh, look at the truck that YouTube bought them. Yeah. And I'm like, you guys got to realize, like I've talked about this in other episodes, Mike. Like if you take income from anything, you got to average it over 2 years. So how do I buy a 2017 truck with my 15-16 tax returns when I didn't even do YouTube until 16 and I made $38?
Yeah.
So you take $38 divided by 2 years, it's $18 or whatever, $19. No. So like the fact that my business qualified for this truck was such a win in my life.
Oh yeah, that was like I remember
the truck that YouTube bought him.
Well, I remember after you bought that, you were saying like, Mike, this is the most expensive thing I've ever owned.
Well, Mike, I grew up in a $40,000 trailer, and I did a episode with I don't know if I think it was Paul Jameson, and I was crying in my driveway doing this podcast because I was sitting in this $58,000 truck. My house that I was sitting obviously next to, my double wide trailer, was $45,000.
Yeah,
brand new, and I don't think people really understand how far. You know me, you know the area, you know the trailer park I grew up in. Some of your employees way back grew up inside trailer park.
They sure did. You down the street from you.
You're 2 miles away. You know the people, you know the quality, you know the thought process, you know the disparity of mentality.
Yeah.
So you know where I kind of came from.
100%.
And even Brandon, like it's so not and I don't say like not fair, but like people have no idea the transformative process the last 13 years.
The Brian and Brandon and probably just a few other people in that entire trailer park think very differently from everyone else that is living there, and that's the only way that you don't live there forever. And that was one of the things I remember you saying to me is like, hey, what did you say at one point? You're like, I don't know where I always want to be in the future, but I know where I don't want to be.
Yeah, well, I always say, don't just run away, run to.
Yes.
Right? And I didn't know exactly where I was running to. I do now because we've matured the last 5-10 years.
Yep.
But I knew it was nothing against that environment, but that was the hand I was dealt. You have to change.
Yep. And that just wasn't what you wanted for your life. So you did something about it.
And it took me a effing decade.
Oh yeah.
Like I did another story that'll come out that I shared on Keith Kalfas' podcast. And I shared my story. Dude, I got into it on Keith Kalfas' podcast. Dude, like
How can you not get deep with Keith Kalfas?
I told stories I've never told, so go check out the Untrapped podcast.
That's awesome.
Okay, so and then you and I, we're kind of dancing around some different topics and timelines here. But in fall of 2017, I call you up and I said, "Hey, dude, I want to plow snow."
Yes.
And you go, "Okie dokie, hold that thought." Like before, did you buy anything yet? No, sir. Did you invest anything yet? I go, no, sir. I go, I'm a blank slate, open book, blank check. And I go, I know you've been doing this for a decade.
Yep.
In fact, Ted from Weingartz, I was talking about buying plows.
Yeah.
And Ted goes, hey, you know that guy you met at the open house?
Yep.
Ted's your sales guy too.
He is my sales guy.
So shout out to Ted. I'm going to buy him a convertible something in his retirement. With these YouTube millions, right, that people talk about. So Ted, if you're listening,
he'd probably tell you to put it in his grandchild's college fund.
Is that what he's
like?
Okay.
Dude, he's such a proud grandpa now. Ted's the man.
Well, he's a great guy. He's been a gem up there at Weingartz for 10, 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's seen a lot of people come and go.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that Ted's still there.
Yep.
And is truly like the survivor.
Yeah.
Speaks to how he's good at taking care of people.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Yep.
So Ted tells me, hey, go talk to that Bedell guy. He lives 2 minutes from your house.
Yep.
I go, oh, I didn't even know that.
Which is like total Ted advice. Like Ted wants to see you succeed, so he's going to give you like other people will be like, yeah, Brian, well, if you want to succeed, you should go look at this new weed whip that's on sale right now. Or like, do you know we got 10% off the new X Mark? Like,
get it.
But he's like, oh yeah, well no, you should come here and buy that plow, but you should also maybe go talk to somebody real quick.
So I call you and I said, hey, we might have texted a couple times, maybe talked a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm not overly sure about that. But I think in fall of 2017 would have been maybe August, September.
Sounds about right.
I'm like, I call you or shoot you a text. Hey, dude, met at the open house. And it's funny, bro, because I live on Old Plank.
Yep.
And you take Pontiac Trail.
Yep.
Which intersects.
Yep.
So I had seen you in your trailer for a decade.
Yeah.
And when you catch up, you show me photos of you and your rig. I go, dude, you've driven by my house every single day for a decade. I'm like, I know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I even let one of my staff members who lived at the time like 4 or 5 houses down from your mom, take the truck and trailer and go cut his mom's house.
Unbelievable.
Just to so I mean, it's literally been on your street several times.
So these two atoms that never connect, by design or whatever, finally link up. And so we get at dinner, and what's your impressions about me asking about snow? Because I was a maintenance company.
You were so I'll say this: I was very impressed by the fact that Brian showed up with a pen and a pad of paper and questions written down
on my phone. Remember?
I
had like 20.
It was either on your phone. I
brought pen and paper too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember the pen and the paper
because I take my phone. Remember, I turn it around. And I go, hey, I don't know how much time we got. I took it to Black Rock. Because you're a sucker for steak.
I am, and it was funny because I was telling people at your Launchpreneur event, like maybe you guys, and maybe this wasn't your intent, but to me, one of the reasons you had that there was you were like, hey, I'm trying to literally show you everyone like what I did here. Like you guys want to see how this went down? There's a reason where I'm all taking you here to eat because you're all about to learn something. And guess what I did? I went and ate here and I learned something. So maybe that wasn't intentional, but I actually
really thought about that full circle.
Okay, so there you go. So it wasn't intentional, but I actually said that to some people at your live event. Like, why do you guys think you're here right now? And they're like, because it's by the event.
Well, Black Rock is the steakhouse.
Because Brian likes steak, and I'm like, well, those are both very true statements.
Yeah.
But I go, Brian has learned a lot of things at this restaurant, and I go, I might not be the only person that he's taken here to dinner to like help develop himself as a person. I go, Brian's a pretty smart guy. He's probably done this with other people, but I go, I think he's trying to share something with all of you so that maybe you go home to your markets and are like, so this is how people who figure stuff out do it.
That's exactly how I planned it, Mike. As I'm scratching my chin here. That's it. I want to look that good.
Amazing.
I want to pretend to look good, smell good on that one. No, but
cool.
Yes, because that restaurant was such so my first decade of my business, like I've called it Brian's Lawn Maintenance 1.0.
Yeah.
That was that. I did a video called my 10-year challenge.
Sure.
So, and dude, you know the Durango and the mower, and we got started so similar, it's not even funny.
It is.
Creepy too, because you're the exact same SUV.
Yep, totally the same SUV. Like we both had a 36-inch walk behind, and we both got an X-Mark Viking, and
so similar, it's not even funny.
And never met each other.
No.
Driving by.
Same dealer.
5
minutes from my house. Okay.
You've probably been to a steak fry. I've been to a steak. It just never happened.
So 2.0 is where I jumped on YouTube in 2016. I've got that red F-150, my utility trailer, and I'd even argue to say like I had just maybe bought the enclosed trailer, which
that was coming down the line. In fact, I remember
right
remember you getting the trailer and then us going to dinner and you also talking about the truck. And I remember
the truck is really 2.0.
And I remember me like us talking about the truck and I remember saying like, yeah, I'm not sure I'd plow snow in a new truck, but then like you had some really positive, intelligent, thought out rebuttals for that, and I was like, well, if that's your plan, then I can't disagree with that.
Well, we had a 3-hour plus dinner.
Yeah.
In August.
Yep.
I think we had a 3-hour plus dinner again 6 or 8 weeks later.
Yeah. Sounds about right to me.
I know there was at least 2.
Yes.
I can't confirm if there was 3.
There was at least 2. Could have been a third.
Yeah. Because I remember, I mean, dude, like I had, so you guys know how this works when you meet a mentor or a coach. Like you ask all these questions you think you're going to ask. They talk for 3 hours. You go, oh my God, you just opened up Pandora's box. And so you had answered like, 9 out of my 10 questions, but now I had 38 new questions. So I go home, do my homework for 6 weeks, and I'm like, you're like, that's where the question was, gas or diesel, 250 or 350, Lariat or XL.
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. And so the insight that you had gave me clearly saved me 10 grand for not buying a diesel because I gave you context.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't want to do, Mike. Little rant here. They don't want to spend 3 to 5 hours listening. They just want to go buy and burn cash.
They want to go fulfill their inner ego.
I don't want to do that. I want to feed my family.
Yep.
And I've heard you can't feed both at the same time.
Ego death is a strong thing, Brian. And some people like go on these big journeys or take a bunch of drugs to do that. I'm a strong believer that you can just run a business for long enough and it'll slowly kill your ego. And then you realize that like, wow, what people think of me doesn't really make me any money.
True.
Unless they're a client.
This is true.
And a majority of the people that have opinions about me aren't clients.
Yeah.
And I think Julio said this on his podcast that you had told him, he was asking for advice on like, how do you film and like not care what people are thinking? He's like, do any of those people pay your bills?
No.
Then don't care what they're thinking.
Not a single one.
And, the same thought, indirect, but like totally same thing. That's why some people you see become very successful and other people don't, is because they're chasing things.
Right.
They're trying to look cool. They're doing things that they hope will please others.
See, I had already done that for a decade.
Right. I had done some of that myself.
Hello, And so I'm like, for the one, it is, if you've never lowered the walls to let another man in your life, whether it's a peer, a father figure, your pastor, an older brother, maybe, there's somebody you can latch onto. I've got a couple mentors in my life that nobody will ever know, ever see, probably ever hear from, that have guided me for 15 years. And Mike even knows of these people.
Yeah.
So like, if you can have access, if you don't have that, get it, pursue it.
And I would argue that is far more important than like the coolest, latest piece of power equipment that'll come out in the next 10 or 20 years.
Well, and so here's the deal. As we continue on this conversation, I started growing the YouTube channel. I buy the truck.
Yep.
I'm plowing snow.
Yep.
We're starting to make a bunch of money, a bunch more money, obviously, right? And as we continue to do this, things continue to grow in our partnership. All right, guys. Hey, we're back. Quick little edit here. Sorry about that. Actually, Bedell got a phone call from his girl, and there was a
little skunk incident outside, and she was worried that like it was like a burner on or something going to blow up with the furnace, and I'm pretty sure we're fine. So, I think maybe just a poor little animal might have kind of gotten eaten outside.
Well, the last 30 seconds, Bedell's giving me these hand gestures, right? We're in studio. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, my phone. I got to take, because you got a text message, and Kat had a potentially skunk gas the furnace, and the furnace sucked in the air, and now your home is napalmed with skunk.
Yeah, kind of. Well, she wasn't sure, is it that, or like did our dog get skunked somehow, or like is there something in the house, or like is a burner on? And then so I see my phone starting to blow up, and I'm like, oh, this isn't good. And then your phone starts blowing up because our girlfriends, our wives are very close, and so when she couldn't get a hold of me, she just goes ahead and gets a hold of Liz.
When Liz calls, I stop because there's something's going on, you know.
When I saw Kat calling, I was like, okay, that's weird.
If they call twice,
and then I was like, okay, like mute it, let's keep going here. And then I look down and I read the text message, and I was like, Brian saw my face, and I was like, oh.
And I get the same message. I go, hey, you should take that, you know. So
yeah, so sorry about that. We're back.
So okay, so we're talking YouTube,
the real life, man. So real life. We're just normal guys who have to deal with just household problems.
Just two good-looking guys taking over the world, right?
One podcast at a time.
One podcast. Okay, so we'll just keep going on the YouTube lineage. And not to go too long on it, because I want to get into debt-free landscaper and the social media stuff that you got going on. Yeah. Because everybody, my stuff is so like out there in public. It's just, I mean, like if you listen to this, you're probably a fan, or you don't enjoy the content, which I appreciate. Yeah. And so, okay, so as we're going through this whole conversation of me growing my business and then the YouTube channel's growing, what, just honest opinion, what's your continued thoughts about the YouTube channel? Because you saw me at 1,000 subscribers.
Sure.
Which is as early as you could really latch on.
And you know? I had, like, you know, nothing against you or anyone doing it. I didn't even really understand at that moment the value of this, where it could go. Its potential, either just for growth in and of itself, or like its impact it would have on this entire community.
Yeah, because you weren't a skeptic. At all. You were neutral.
Like I was neutral.
Maybe a -1 at most.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, maybe a little weight on that skeptic side, but it was only just because, like...
But you weren't -7.
Yeah, well, it was... I honestly would have believed Brian more if he was like, do you know who Logan Paul is? I'm going to be the next Logan Paul. I'd have been like,
oh, sure.
Okay, all right. That makes sense. That. But like when you were like, I'm going to have a lawn care YouTube channel, I was like, good for you, buddy. That's great. Okay. Like, cause you know, that's how, and it was more of like, that's great, Brian. If that's how you want to spend your time, you know,
your creative outlet.
Well, you know, I'm thinking like there's so many more nefarious things that I've seen people do over the years. Wow, if this guy wants to like edit videos about whatever, I hope people watch, having no idea everyone was about to watch.
Well, it's crazy now, right? Because hindsight's always 20/20.
Totally.
Who doesn't want to sound like the superhero and the "I told you so" guy 5 years ago?
Not me.
That wasn't even a thought in my mind that I was aiming for, trying to do. I was just funny story. You talk about turning a curve, writing the aircraft carrier in your business. Mm-hmm. Talk about parallel paths.
Totally.
I'm going into what I now call Brian's Law Maintenance 2.0. And then the red truck forward is kind of like my business matured today with your coaching and mentorship behind the scenes. And so that was like kind of like Brian's Law Maintenance 3.0, the Bedell version. Yeah. But when I was jumping on YouTube, that was like the 2.0, the red truck, the utility trailer. Mm-hmm. And I was just starting to document my life. I wasn't trying to impress. I was reviewing some stuff that other people hadn't. But that was it.
And you started gaining a little traction. Companies like Echo were starting to like also believe that this could be a thing, and you know we're starting to provide. They were kind of like the head of the spear, and every other company that you've got to work with over the years has kind of followed suit in seeing the value and wanting to be a part of this opportunity and experience,
these conversations.
Yeah.
So as we continue to grow, by the way, has everybody always believed in what I'm doing? Do you remember the story I told you about? There was an individual, just so you guys know, like, if you don't think I don't get like haters or people that whine or complain behind the scenes, and I'm not talking like people that troll on YouTube and like other stuff. Like, there's companies that didn't believe in what I was doing.
100%.
And I had somebody literally say to my face, same time I had met you. So I took like your bullet, which wasn't like mean or skeptical. It was like a grace.
Yeah.
You're like, interesting. You're doing YouTube. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and it was never insulting. It was never a put down. It was like, good luck with that stupid dream.
Never.
It was just like, it was kind of just like, that's fascinating.
Right.
Like, and then it was furthered by the fact that some kid was missing school to come meet you and and wanted. I think I might have taken the photo that you got.
I think so. I think I gave it to you. I'm like, hey, I know this guy enough after an hour.
Yeah, like,
take this camera.
Take this camera. Take a photo of us.
Well, because you shot photos in yearbook or something you were saying at school or something.
Yeah, I've had enough cameras handed to me over the years between other band yearbook, other stuff. So yeah, I was probably qualified to press the button once.
Well, so funny story though. The exact same time by the way, if you see me with like, I really do go 100 miles an hour. Like if like taking Brian's lawn maintenance in is like trying to drink from a fire hose. I go really hard. Like, I'm not out front, like in front of the camera, but I guess I am. But like behind the scenes, I work a lot. Like a lot. I love it. I'm trying to create something, build something, both businesses, to be honest. So, by the way, though, after our conversation, nothing good, bad. You know, just like, hey, cool, I made a friend.
Yeah. At a minimum, we walked away with each other's numbers, and my mind was a little blown because I'd gone to Weingartz, seen a lot of things, seen a lot of equipment, met a lot of people. Never met somebody who's like, no, I got a camera. No, I'm not hired to be here. I'm doing this on my own accord. And I think that like there's opportunity here. And then, I see it all pay out. So yeah, you have that experience, and then.
Well, so I'm while I'm there, and this I really don't think this person meant what they meant when they said it. Now, but
they said it, didn't they?
But they said it, and just so you guys know, like I've had people give me crap behind the scenes. One guy said to me, "Now imagine this. Imagine like I got 1,000 subscribers." To me, it's like I just got my silver play button, right? Like I'm doing this thing. I'm one of the guys. I'm making headwind. I'm trying to be a YouTuber. Like I didn't even know what I was doing. But one guy, I go up to him and I'm trying to build a partnership, right? And I go to the guy, I said, hey, maybe your company and me should work together. And literally the guy said, he goes, hey, kid, which is always a great start, right? At 30 or 29. So the guy goes, hey, kid, just so you know, by the time that you ever get any headwind working with a company like ours, I'll be retired on a private island in swim shorts with my gold watch and drinking an alcoholic beverage.
Yep.
And dude,
I remember that telling me that guy said.
Yeah, and he was sitting on a mower, and he just judged the hell out of me. Now, even if you didn't know what you don't know, if somebody's excited about something in life, like you should probably sort of try to encourage them. Unless they're like, hey, I'm going to go climb Mount Vesuvius and jump in the middle or whatever. Probably not the best idea, kid.
Yeah, but
otherwise,
even at that point, like, maybe just take the mildly skeptic route where I do, where you're just looking at someone like, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So that's when I committed to literally destroying and dominating YouTube. Because
he definitely lit a fire. You and I definitely are two people that the worst thing someone can do is tell us we can't do something.
Yes.
We're going to do it twice, and we're going to take pictures.
Oh, yes. And video.
Yep. So we're going to show everyone else how we did it and that it can be done.
Yeah.
And then we're going to take joy when other people go do it. And we're like, And you said it couldn't even be done. And watch, everyone's doing it now. Yay!
Yeah. Now I probably make quadruple what he makes. And he's not the new guy. Okay.
Nope. He was somebody who thought that like he'd seen a lot of things in this, honestly, not too different from my thoughts in the sense that like, I've been here before. I've seen a lot of things and, oh really? Somebody's going to put a new one on to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think so. Like, good luck with that venture, sir.
Right.
Except he said it in like literally the most derogatory way.
Mean way. And I'm not naming names or companies. Like, it's so irrelevant, but
because that person is not a representative
of the whole
company.
Yeah.
That person was basically interjecting his personal opinions and beliefs and context and experience into what everyone else.
Yeah.
Literally, I bet you that guy, it wouldn't have just been you. He that's his attitude towards everything and everyone.
Yeah, and it's not a slate on the industry or you know anyone.
Some people are just know-it-alls, man.
Well, that's the thing. So like, I'm trying to create influencer marketing, and just so you guys know, like, it's funny. I get bashed behind the scenes about being a sellout, which we're not. We review product and we create sponsored content. But here's the deal: there's so many dozens and dozens, and this isn't trying to talk about me, but I'm just saying there's arguably 50 to 100 people that reap the reward behind the scenes that would you say I had to pioneer some things, Stanley, me, Keith.
There's a few people, you included, that we affectionately refer to as the head of the spear.
Yeah.
Where in order for everyone to receive an opportunity in any capacity, and that's even like just for us as consumers to be able to be introduced to a new product. Someone like Brian very likely has gone through the ringer a little bit just to get to the point where he can upload a video. We can all go, oh my gosh, that's the most amazing new fill in the blank I've ever seen.
Like, it took me 10 hours working with Steel to get the Steel BR 700 video just on my channel. I didn't even get to keep it. They were so skeptical. They gave me 90 days with it. Yeah. And at the end of it, they're like, hey, we definitely want that back. I go, it's kind of an understood that person gets to keep that unit or whatever they demo.
Yeah, they were like, yeah,
they're like,
no way.
They're like, that's good. Now, we have a great relationship with Steel now, but
that was earned.
It was 4 years ago.
Totally earned.
Totally earned. People, like, I'm burning up the phone instead of working my traditional business, and people are like, oh, you're a sellout. I'm like, dude, I don't even get to keep half this stuff. And it's just like, so that's why I've never taken any of the jaded comments like overly serious.
There are people that will never operate at your level to do those type of things. They're applying their own context to situations that they just don't really have any business applying, like any context or they're welcome. Everyone's welcome to an opinion, but when you try and force that opinion on others or just tell everyone that you're right and they're wrong, like, come on.
Well, that's the thing. Like, when I sincerely say that I'm here to help you guys grow a more successful business, like, I'm still in the.
It's not a sales pitch.
It's not a talking point. It's not. If I'm not profitable, am I in the red? Right. So I'm still in the red. Now, we're making money with our YouTube channel and partnerships, but in terms of, like, if I took the, I don't know, Mike, 1,500 hours.
So if you took
at
all the time
$100 an hour,
or even at $10, even if they were like, hey, Brian, the state's going to require you to pay minimum wage
on myself
for all those hours that you put in.
Yeah,
you might be like, I don't.
People don't believe me, dude. They don't believe me.
That like that. Have we made some money? Sure, but not enough money to do that. Like,
So I always say, like, you got to fund the hobby, which so many of you guys. So here's the deal. I'm talking to the 99.9% of you guys that get it and appreciate me and appreciate this. And, again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, and I'm not trying to talk about me. I'm just telling you guys, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we've had to, like, cut our teeth on. And and there's been skepticism. Like, it's just been crazy. But as my YouTube channel's grown, one thing I've always learned is take people with you.
Yep.
Don't good for you if you're making some money in you and your business, you and your own personal traditional lawn and landscape company. But how are your employees treated? Like, are you paying them good money? So the definition of, like, success is how many people can you bring up along after you?
Yep.
So you and I. Behind the scenes, I got you involved with some of the videos on YouTube. I took some of your experience talking with your credibility about certain products. I've always tried to reciprocate with companies send me products. I review it with you and then you get to keep them.
Yeah.
Little perks like that.
Yeah,
I've always tried to
absolutely.
share and bless.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job of that. You've told companies that have reached out, you're like, nah, that's not a good fit for me, and that's something that's really important to you. Is like, hey, if it doesn't help me, it doesn't help people on my channel.
Right.
Not a good fit for me.
Never.
And there's many times that you've recommended myself or other people that you're like, hey,
all the time.
If you want someone who I genuinely think is a better fit for what you're trying to do, if you really want success, you think success would be with me. I'm not, and I'm saying this is you.
Yeah.
And you're going, I don't believe that to be true, but I do believe that if you were to work with this individual,
all the
you
time,
could receive those results. And I'll say there's been some companies that I currently work for that you've helped put us together, and it's been an amazing relationship.
Totally.
I hope they feel the same way. And then there's been other companies who've taken the hard pass,
right? And
what they don't understand is there's never but we'll just pass on Mike or somebody else and just end up with Brian. Like that was Brian telling them no and giving them a hey, but if you wanted to work with someone else, go here. And most of those companies like that, when they say we're not interested in me, I generally don't see them pop up somewhere else because they kind of just burn the bridges.
Yeah, like I've always tried to. This sounds a little pretentious, but there's so many people that people have blessed me 100%. There's other people that have networked with me in the community, outside the community, and opened up doors for me. Yeah. But man, I'll tell you, I bet you I could quantify 50 to 75 other people that have brand deals, partnerships, programs are in, free tools, XYZ PDQ. Mike, there's some people that we were buds. They don't even like me anymore. They don't answer phone calls anymore. I'm just a team player, bro. Like I've never. So in my marriage with Liz, one thing that we've always said is we don't keep score.
Sure.
We don't count score. You can't do that in relationships.
You can't.
And so
that's not how they win, because there's going to be winning seasons. And if you treat if you try and treat everything in your life like you would a pro sports or business decision, you would be prone to have these meetings where you're like, well, you haven't won in a while, or this is all give and no take, and this has to change.
Yep.
And there might be time for those conversations if that's actually what's occurring,
right?
But if you're truly in a relationship with someone, there's going to be moments of give and take both ways. And if no one's keeping score, but if you're a good person and you feel like there's been more taking than giving,
right,
and you want to continue that relationship and you care about that relationship and you want it to grow further, then it should be important to everyone that's in that type of relationship, to whether it's a spouse or a business relationship or family or anything, to if you feel like you've been giving, or I'm sorry, if you feel like you've been taking, it's time to do some giving,
some reciprocation.
Yeah, and
reciprocity.
Yeah, and you've done a good job of that, and you've also done a good job of acknowledging the people that have been appreciative and want to like totally just be along for the ride, even if there's no more giving or taking. They just like they're happy to be in the room and have friends.
Totally.
And then there's other people who I've seen it with you, seen it with me, seen it with other people, seen how they treat others, and it's all about the taking, and they might give if they have to, I guess.
Right.
Sort of.
I've always
and you know what?
God bless
them.
God bless them too.
That's cool if that's how they want to operate. But
right.
Brian's super smart to be in a season where he acknowledges those things and has a significant other who also acknowledges that things and is super smart to say, "Hey, Brian, this is what I'm seeing. Is this what you're seeing?" Like,
right.
We should be smart about who we're bringing into our inner circle and who we're loving on, and who it's a wonderful thing to be able to bless others, but if is it right of us to bless people that maybe deserve it less than others?
Yeah,
it's right to bless everyone, but let's make sure that the right people are aligning with the right brands.
Sure.
And that we're trying to put everyone in the best spot, not just a spot that serves us. And you guys do an awesome job of that. And hey, that might be a big reason why this community is now like a super successful thing, and that people see upward momentum in just a couple of years. Someone like myself has gone from being like, YouTube and lawn care, to being like, I know several people who do that and do it really well and put amazing content out and help people every day.
Yeah. Well, and again, my attitude's always been just give. Give. No expectation of return.
And that's totally where
that's all you can do.
Literally, debt-free landscaper. Brian knows this about me.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. That's a great transition to so let me put some words in your mouth first, because this is super cool. Context is that as I'm growing my business in my life, we talked about this a little bit on the other episode. There were some things I didn't know about, like legit, like LLCs and S corps and articles of organization and employee handbooks and manuals and payroll and documenting this and all that. So a lot of technical stuff that you need to do as a business. As we're doing more episodes on the podcast about this topic, we've done some with Garrett Sutton and so on. You guys love this kind of stuff, so we're going to keep talking about more. But I'm also a big proponent of don't talk about something until you got a handful of years under your belt on it. So that's why I've been really slow to bring this type of content out, because behind the scenes, last 24, 36 months, I'm like going through the crucible of like cleaning up this, and then I get these two companies going. I got to split like this little, mitosis, right? And then so I'm splitting things, and then things grow, and I got to split again. Well, one thing was, you and I had talked so much, and you're like, well, what about this contract? And I'm like, I don't have any commercial contracts. It's just like handshakes and nods. And you're like, cool, that works. Or maybe do something a little bit more formal. And I'm like, Mike, what are you talking about? So anyway, the long story short of what I'm trying to say is Mike's, everybody in life has like got talents and gifts and skill sets, right?
Absolutely.
And you know how to sell, you know how to run a business, you know your equipment, but all those things you're a 9 and a 10. Or maybe you self-professed, right? But you're a 7, 8, 9, 10.
Sure.
But one thing I think you are definitely a 9 and a 10 in is your contracts, your legalese, your business acumen, behind the scenes of running an office environment and your business. And that's not like lip service, it's a fact.
Oh, thanks, dude.
So Brandon even and I noticed that a few years ago, and I said, Bedell, you got to get this stuff out there. You got to get this content out there. You're like, dude, no, like everybody's got contracts. Everybody's already got this figured out. I go, no, dude, like the 0 to 250 guy, they don't. I didn't. And I'm like, so you need to get these documents, these contracts. Boom. Debt-free landscaper was incepted 18-ish months ago.
Yeah. That's fair.
So talk about that. Debtfreelandscaper.com. If you've never visited, Brian Sten works there.
Sure does.
Save 10%. But this is huge. Listen to the next 10, 20 minutes, because it's going to be huge for your business, because there's a lot of things I wasn't doing that I could have got blindsided on. Totally. And things that you've provided now, dude, at the most nominally cost price. Like this isn't a pitch. This is like literally saving your ASS. So talk about it, bro.
Yeah. So truthfully, you're a big reason why Debt Free Landscaper came to be is just through us talking and me sharing some of the agreements, either by like me just being like, yeah, dude, here, why don't you try this out? Like,
I think it was your snow contract.
Yeah, it was probably the snow contract, and then like
where do you get this?
You've seen some of the other things, and you were like, people need this. Like you were the one who was like, nobody has these. I'm like, what are you talking about? And if you've listened to the last podcast, you know that I come from a very large corporate mall development background that I was raised in, where all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and they all have legal teams, and so that's how I was raised. And then I had my teeth cut by a prominent recognized company, Midwest Landscape. Done some stuff with Troy Clog, both companies that are very well operated, and in turn, like, it kind of impressed upon me that, like, well, anybody who's making it has all of these tools, just obviously in their arsenal. They're using them every day. Yeah. Nope. And it was Brian and Brandon and a couple other people who made me realize, nope, just me. Yeah. Like, not really just me, but it is much more rare than I ever would have perceived.
In our industry.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Most specific to our industry. Yeah.
Especially the owner-operator, sub 500 guy.
Yeah, they're out there making the best with what they got, but unless they've taken the time to hire an attorney or have a family friend that's one,
right,
There weren't always these resources that have been out there for a long period of time, and so you guys were the ones who were like, you gotta share this with everyone. And you specifically said something, and it's because you know me a little bit better, that I'm generally a pretty meticulous person, and something that I've kind of let go of the past couple of years that had been a staple in my life, and it probably goes back to being a musician, is if you're recording something, you're just going to keep doing take after take until it's absolutely perfect.
Sure.
And in turn, what does everyone get to see and hear? They get to see the beautiful, mastered, final product that's like to perfection.
Right.
I played a lot of music growing up, and it was impressed upon me that, you get a C or a B in any other type of class, that's pretty good. But if you go up on stage and play 70 or 80% of the notes correct, it's a pretty rough performance.
Right.
And so it was like excellence is a habit. You got to be perfect at everything you do all the time.
Yep.
And you were like, hey, Mike, that might be true some of the time.
Sure.
But it could also be said that the person who helps the most people the fastest is really the one who's going to win.
Sure.
Because they're the ones who actually provide value for everyone, versus the person that held on to something and kept working on it until it was just absolutely perfect.
Right.
Might have missed the opportunity to help people altogether. Or at that point, just because it's perfect to you doesn't mean it's perfect to other people. And once again, there might be a lot of effort put in at that point with mediocre result. And so I kind of said, okay, all right, well, then we need to speed this along. And when I originally was thinking Debt-Free Landscaper was going to come out with this like whole story of like the journey of Mike Bedell and like why I'm debt-free and you can be debt-free too.
Right.
And you were like, yeah, maybe someday get to all that. But how about you put something out that could help people today?
Yeah.
And so we started rolling out the different agreements that we have, and we've always kept them nominally priced, and truthfully, if I could, I'd probably just give them all away, because I would actually prefer that everyone in our industry started using agreements like this, because it'd be one of the fastest ways to professionalize our entire industry and start charging what we're worth. If you started putting agreements, if you don't use agreements in your business, and you started using agreements similar to these, not saying they have to even be these ones, but if you start using a very professional agreement in your selling process, and when you're landing new clients, you're going to revolutionize and change how you're perceived by those clients.
Totally.
And we talked in the last episode, you want to become the it guy in your industry? Well, the fastest way to do that is be perceived as a professional. Be literally one of the most professional people that they've seen in any interaction. Like a great example, Dylan from Solo Cuts.
Yeah. Dylan's been on the show.
Yeah, and he's got all the debt-free landscaper agreements. He messaged me the other day that he's gotten an opportunity, and I don't know that he's fully landed it yet, but one of the immediate pieces of feedback he got upon putting in a proposal was that it was by far the most professional proposal he had ever, that individual had ever received from a landscaping company.
Wow.
And that didn't mean that Dylan was going to get the job, but it immediately made him a contender, because this guy was just like, wow.
So let me speak to this.
Yeah.
Because it's huge. I interview so many young guys in the podcast, and I'm always saying your marketing is your equalizer when you're young.
Yes.
Same thing with your contracts that go hand in foot.
Totally.
Or hand in toe, whatever the saying is. So
hand in hand, whatever.
Hand in hand. So you got these amazing contracts that you submit, and people go, "Holy crap! There's actually legalese." Versus like
it protects your business. It protects the client. It sets parameters to everything. It takes a lot of the but what happens if this?
Yes.
Like, it says right here what happens.
Well,
and so like I started saying, I'd probably give them away if I could. I have to charge something because it's not free to run a website.
No.
Insurance isn't free. All those fun things that businesses have to have, they're not free. But aside from that, in terms of ROI, if it were me, if I had to do it again, I'd probably grab those agreements. I'd grab Brian's, grab a couple others, and then sit down with an attorney and go, so how do we just turn all of this into like the best agreement ever written that's perfect for what I'm doing in my specific company? So that's what you ought to do.
No, this is huge, and this is extremely important. If you guys aren't paying attention, it's extremely important. Okay, so here's the deal. Bedell, on his website, he has his residential snow contract.
Yep.
Commercial snow contract.
Correct.
Residential lawn maintenance contract.
Yep.
Commercial lawn maintenance contract.
Yep.
Fertilizer, what would you call it? Agreement, maintenance contract?
Yeah. It's a fertilizer and irrigation agreement, because in my eyes, the two go really hand in hand. If you're not going to irrigate, why are you fertilizing, and vice versa?
And if you can't control the other, it's tough to make it a win-win for the lawn and the client.
It is. That's it. I've
heard Julio say that.
Totally. People that have been in the industry get it. They get it. Because we get what's going to produce results for someone,
right,
and what's not. And in turn, this steers them towards results. And if they want to try their idea, it's free country, at least in America. Sure. You can go do that, but then maybe not a fit for us.
Right.
And if your plan doesn't work out and you want to try our plan, sign right up. Hey, here's the information, and it's all a la carte, so you can pick what applications you want. And if you screw up the first couple, bring us in. We'll finish the rest.
Perfect. Audio. What's the other one? Your operating agreement.
So now we don't have.
What else you got left? Let me say that, because I know
you're a subcontractor agreement. We got a landscape services agreement. We've got an employee handbook. We've got snow logs.
Yep.
We've got some other forms like employee absence forms or an incident report. I think I basically had an employee bundle on there that's like, if you're now at the stage in your business where you need to have employees, you can download this and it gives you a handbook to give to them. You've got an incident form. You got a vacation request form, and the things that you need to have in place so that you can professionally hire people in your business. The only thing that's really missing at that point is having them fill out like a W-4 and any forms that your state require, and then go ahead and put them on payroll, and don't 1099 them, because the IRS doesn't really love that.
Which things I've learned,
unless they're like an actual legitimate business. Now, if they're a subcontractor and you want to use our subcontractor agreement, that's great too. But never confuse a subcontractor, which is a person that has their own business and business license and does not want to be paid as an employee because they operate a professional business, and people that need to go on payroll and need to be treated as a W-2 employee and have withholdings taken from their check.
Well, that's been a fun topic on YouTube the last 3 weeks, so we'll just skate on that one, which is just hilarious. But here's the deal.
Careful who you listen to, right?
Totally. That's why I put out ultra conservative advice. I run it through Liz. I run some topics through Bedell and other folks, right? Here's the deal. If you've been in business for 3 to 5 years, the packet that Bedell has, you have a package. Yeah. It's like $200.
Yeah, it's the Ultimate Pro Bundle. It's $220. It's under $200 if you use Brian's
198,
10.
right?
Yeah,
I think
$198 with Brian's 10.
Bedell, let me ask you this. You got the legalese. That's kind of like your background with you and your dad and his not his company, but the company.
Yep.
If you had a professional lawyer put these contracts together, like these 10 different forms and little programs, these 10 different contracts, what do you think it would cost somebody in our position to get somebody like that to make them? In general?
Well, the lawyer that did it charges $500 an hour, so you'd probably be looking in somewhere of the $5,000 to $15,000 range if you wanted to. If you had no personal relationship and you literally were like, didn't know each other, and he's going to charge you the going rate for the time that is actually spent. To put all that together, it could even be upwards of $15,000. I guess it totally depends. I caught him at maybe a little bit harder working phase. That gentleman is basically retired now and owns multiple Ferraris. So at this point, he'd probably not work very fast and be trying to choose which Ferrari he's going to drive.
Which is exactly my point. This is incredible. So
I went to somebody who, like, this was so beneath them
right.
in terms of putting this together. Like, they felt very confident in putting this together because they were currently working on issues that were far beyond even a $50,000 landscape job. Like, and sorry, I got to go help work on an agreement that's on $1 billion project. Yeah, literally $100 million, $1 billion projects, and that's really what this guy did.
I'm just gonna tell people my story. I didn't know that I should have these kind of forms.
You don't know what you don't know.
Totally, dude.
At least I had the context to be like, oh my gosh, I need to have these.
Yes.
But it's really starting over as the years pass. It's becoming very apparent that
some things were done very right.
Well, and that if you don't know what you don't know, and there's lots of people out there who they weren't blessed to have the upbringing that I had, and so if you don't see those type of things occurring,
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't even know professional. I hate to say it, but you don't even know what professionalism truly is.
Right. Because,
even if you're doing the best you can to be professional, if you have no idea there's guys literally blowing you out of the water in that arena, until you get in that group of people, around that group of people, and you have that mind oozing out of your ears moment that I've seen you have and I've had in the past.
Why didn't anybody tell me this? Those kind of conversations.
Hey, you've said that a few times in conversation where we're like, so when was somebody going to tell us this?
Yeah.
And
you're like, I'm like, how do you know? You're like, dude, I don't even know. I just was in the right place, right time.
That's it. To be transparent, it wasn't like somebody sat me down and gave me like a nice piece of paper that was like, just put all these things in order and you will be successful. This is like trial and error and learning what I don't have and what I do have and having people that were willing to help me along the way. And so, like I said in the last podcast, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I've had the experience of having a lot of things that I worked for, but also were I won't say given, but available to me. Well, and it is now part of my journey to make sure that those same resources are available to everyone.
Well, it's called paying it forward.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'm telling you guys straight up, like running websites, if you own a website, you know what I'm talking about. It's not cheap. Like it's a couple grand a year just to have a dang website and have it hosted.
Is.
Like there's nothing cheap and nothing free. And with the way to scale it by making it available as a digital download product, yours is editable.
Yes,
it's
fully editable.
Word document.
Yep, everything's a Word document, and we've got a free budget download tool. That's an Excel program. I left that one out, but yeah, everything else is a Word document, and you can, in a matter of mere minutes, you can have this all edited. It's got your logo, your address, your name on it, and you're ready to go professionally sell yourself and make a bunch of money this year.
I use
and protect your assets.
Protect your assets is huge. Well, and here's the deal: I use a lot of your contracts. I use some of my own documents. I've got a commercial lawn maintenance contract. It's $20. What would you say? A third or quarter of it's a lot of your legalese. Because I said, hey, clean this up for me, would you? I called a friend.
So basically, what you've done is you've taken. We have something that this is really the sales tool that BPM uses. It's called a landscape assessment.
Yes,
and you've taken that and you've basically made it a little bit more manageable and straightforward, where if you're like a boutique company and you're literally trying to give somebody like an a la carte menu, you're probably looking for the landscape assessment at debtfreelandscaper.com versus if you're looking for like a page and a half document that you can put in front of a commercial client that positions yourself as a professional. It is a great level up.
Yes.
But you're not looking to make this like a big sell for the person, or they're more of a simple, clean cut. Like, hey, okay, let's just sign something, but it doesn't need to have all these extra clauses in it. Then your agreements for that. It would probably, if like I said earlier, if it were me, I'd probably take the two and combine some things,
sure,
and try and make them a perfect fit, rather than trying to take my agreement and change it to be maybe more like your agreement, or take your agreement and change it to be more like mine, without knowing what those missing pieces are, and guessing, and then having to figure it out along the way. Maybe take we use the head of the spear analogy earlier. Take some people who've been the head of the spear for a while, and we've put this agreement together because we've figured out what works and doesn't work, and we want to save you time and make you money, and here it is. Download it.
20
put
bucks.
It to work.
$20, $30 for these things.
And that's it. Like I said, I think in a perfect world, to give on to others and have it be free, that's great. But that's depending on what political candidate you believe in, you might believe that that's how everything should be. But as a business owner, that's not how the real world works. And so at a minimum, if you can account for your costs and cover them, then you're giving back to people, but you're also Brian and I are at the point where we're like Warren Buffett. We can't be like true philanthropists to the point where we've made our money. It's time to truly give on to others in every way we can.
But I'm with those YouTube millions.
Oh, there you go. But we're at a point where we want to give to others, and we've got to cover our costs along the way, because we're not like millionaires. We're not Logan Paul. We're not YouTube stars. We're guys who are lucky enough to figure out how to make more than 6 figures a year. But we're not at a point where we've got all that stashed away. The struggle isn't what it was, but it could come back if we're not smart. And so got to charge something. But compared to the value of what it would, like you hit on, what it would cost you to put this agreement together,
Mike,
it's not even comparable, dude.
It's $275 an hour for my trademark and copyright attorney.
There you go.
$250 an hour for my CPA.
Yep.
I do a monthly coaching call.
Yeah.
Standing coaching call.
With a great guy.
Dude, I mean, if you've never operated, and I'm trying to be as non-pretentious as possible, but I'm just saying, when you start operating your business at certain levels, you're going to realize there's these extra costs, which is why you cannot cut lawns for the $20, $25 an hour.
It's very similar to why we can't go cut. No one should be cutting $5, $10, $20 lawns in any market ever, because it just it doesn't gut check. If you're running a real business, there's no way your overhead costs allow you to do that. And so in turn, Debt-Free Landscaper, a Launchpreneur Academy, there's costs that we face every day. To provide that value for everyone. But at the end of the day, we've been smart enough to position it to the point where our costs are not so astronomical that we can actually really pour into people for such a nominal amount of money compared to what it cost us to put those agreements together.
Well, the internet wasn't, it was around 10 years ago, but we're not doing what we're doing today. Right. And so you get Caleb Allman's how to install pavers.net.
He charges what? It's
$99.
To go do literally millions of dollars in hardscape work.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars. Go learn how to do that.
Or even look at it in a traditional fashion if you went to one semester of college.
That's what I was saying. You're 10, 20 grand in the hole.
Yeah.
A $99 course, a $20, $50, $100, $200 package of contracts, any of the training courses that Brian has on Launchpreneur Academy.
Yeah.
If you were to take those skills and go apply them, it's just pennies on the I've talked with Ted at Weingartz about how once you've got things figured out, buying a $300 hedge trimmer, $400 chainsaw, a lot of those get paid for on the first job or two, because if you're established, you're going and doing a couple $1,000 hedge trim, and you probably could pay for that in one job, and then you have the asset and it's just sitting there making you money. And it was a $300 asset.
So $20
contract or a $50 contract.
To secure 20 grand of business.
And then that's huge. To have language in that contract that protects your asset, positions you as a professional, allows you to, cover yourself in the case of concealed contingencies or issues on a job site.
Liability issues, hold harmless clauses. Again, it for real. If you go to a lawyer, it's $200 an hour.
At least.
And by the way, they're not even industry specific.
That's it.
So they don't even know what to say.
Thankfully, ours was done by attorneys that do development and understand trades and contractors and have lived on all sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But you just made a great point. People in our society are pretty quick to use the term "go grab an attorney" or whatever, without really thinking. Like, it's the same thing with doctors. A doctor's not a doctor. Like, if you got an ear problem, you want an ENT, not a podiatrist.
This is true. Yeah.
They just to get in. You may have a family, a friend who's an attorney who's going to help you put together your agreements.
Sure.
Well, he's like a healthcare litigation attorney.
Right.
No offense, but like, other than some core concepts, there may not be able to. There's some things that person is going to miss, and it's not because they didn't care about you, and it's not because they're not good at their job.
Right.
They just don't do lawn care and contracting and development, and they don't. If you don't deal with the trades all the time, and if you haven't had to defend and go after
100%
those companies, then you just don't know what you're up against. And so I was very fortunate to get put at the table with people who are very seasoned individuals who said, "Oh yeah, we want to make sure that you do this for a long time,
help you out,"
and so helped me out. And in turn, I had no idea that wasn't something that was readily available or that other people had access to. And so I've definitely found it on my heart to share that with everyone. And I think that's something that you also share in, that you feel the same.
I do. I'm such a fan and proponent of Debt Free Landscaper. Here's one thing I always say, like, I'm just gonna be blunt. Support these folks. Like, folks like Caleb Allman and Mike and other people that have training programs, support them. Like, for crying out loud.
I appreciate that.
I'm just gonna be honest. Like, these things can so dramatically improve and increase and protect, where it's $20, $30. Like, it's not a cash grab. They're not $200.
Beyond that, it's by the time after you've gone and downloaded the agreements, like I keep track of who has what, and there's actually an email that's going to come out shortly of a couple changes that I want to see go into mine and hopefully everyone else's commercial snow contract agreements, because there was something that came up that, as far as I know, never affected me, never affected anybody who has these agreements, as far as I know. But through just learning and paying attention, there was something that I saw happen to some contractors this past winter that I went, I don't see that in my agreement, but I know how we're going to take care of that. So stay tuned. You may have already gotten that email by the time you're listening to this, but Brian, you're also going to be on that list, and literally you're going to get a little email update from me, and it's going to be like a copy paste. Go ahead, put this in your contract if you think it applies to you. If not, that's fine too. But that's it. You're literally buying into someone who's like going to help you succeed.
Yeah.
For like, I'm an open lifeline, man. Hit me up on Instagram or shoot me a message. Like, some of you guys have my phone number. Like, it's pretty easy to find on the internet. Like, I may not get right back to you because I have a lot of things going, but I will get back to you, and we're gonna win together. How about that?
That's what I'm talking about, man. I know it's kind of like a half-hour plug for the Debt Free Landscaper, but by design, dude. Like, if seriously, I told you, I really kind of pressed you behind the scenes. I'm like, dude, you need to get this out there. You're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. You're like, was it 3 months later, 6 months later, maybe season change? I'm like, Bedell, like, hey, I was like, can I just get maybe access to your contract? And I think you hooked me up.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, like, you need to get these out there, not to sell and make a cash grab. If you think people are getting rich on contracts, folks, it's a supplement.
Why did I start Ursuland, that other company? Because that's actually there to make me money. Like,
part of the wealth strategy.
Debt Free Landscaper is not part of the wealth strategy.
Right.
It's part of the like give back, and that like maybe someday I can look back and go, wow, this industry is just so much better right now than when it was when I came into it, and I feel really good about that.
There's so many people with special talents and skills getting involved, and I think it's incredible. I can't wait to see what happens over the next 2 to 5 years. And I really do mean that because you weren't on the scene 4 years ago with the internet and YouTube.
No,
I wasn't. I don't know what I brought to the internet, but 4 years later, it's maybe mowing tall grass videos.
Well,
having some fun here.
That's it. You go back 4 or 5 years, there wasn't most of us out there, and so it certainly begs the question: if this is the content and how much that we put out there, and this is how much we've leveled up as a community in the past couple of years,
I love it.
Where are we going in 5 or 10 years? And
I can only imagine the Mike Bedell and Brian Fullerton, right now, that's 18, 19, 20, that want to make a go of it.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could be the next Troy Clogg.
I think I said it to you earlier, Brian, that the young kids who are passionate about this, who now have the resources that we never in a million years had when we were the neighborhood lawn kids, or when we were going out of high school and realizing that that 4-year college plan going into a bunch of debt wasn't for us, and that maybe a different plan was. We never had all those resources. So the kids that actually have all those, man, they ought to just whether it's blow the doors off of us and just way pass us by in terms of becoming the next Troy Clogg or Case Snow Management or Brightview or whatever it is. If that's what they want to be, great. But even if it's being a smaller guy, what I really hope is that no matter the size company, no matter the dreams or vision that those individuals have, they have the resources that they're just going to lose way less money. They're going to sleep so much better at night. They're going to not cry in their bedroom and hate their life at certain moments.
Have you ever done that?
I've done it recently, but it doesn't happen often. It happens a lot less than it used to. Yeah. And it's going to happen. There's always, when you're a business owner, there's always struggles. There's always bad days, but it's my dream that I've cried those tears so you don't have to.
Amen. Well, dude, I remember bottoming out my mower in a 7-acre field.
Yeah,
I had no idea what to do.
That's it. I mean, who do you call?
What do you do? You're out there on your own, but no more. Now you've got YouTube. Now you've got Instagram. Now you got lifelines and friends. Yeah. Maybe local. Maybe on the internet. Maybe I've never met you, but. I answer hundreds of DMs a day.
You sure do.
I haven't looked at my phone in 8 hours. I can only imagine.
Sure.
And here's
my
the deal.
Apologies, internet.
No. But here's what I'm trying to say.
We've been podcasting.
I get back to everybody. I do my best. I mean, we literally run in my small teeny tiny brain 2 aircraft carrier, 2 freight trains going down the road.
Yeah.
And dude, it's the Will Smith Wild Wild West, the back car's on fire on both because it's going so fast.
Sure.
The wheels are burning and we're just having fun. My life's not falling apart. I'm just saying these are 2 big ships. Your ship is going down the road 100 miles an hour. It's just it's extremely exciting. And so hopefully people can understand where we're coming from with. Dude, we're just having fun.
That's literally been my focus in 2020 here, and that's why I've actually spent a little less time on social media and a little bit more time with my family and on businesses, is because I'm really just trying to have the best time. Dude, this has already been the best 6 weeks, arguably, of my life.
Yeah,
and it's just getting going. I've talked with some of you guys on the internet. Spring isn't even here yet.
People are just chomping at the bit.
Oh, this is going to be, dude, 2020 is the year.
Let me ask you this. Maybe a final thought, or we'll wrap up last 5-10 minutes here. How much do you think all this has helped you as you go into this new season of your life since you and I have met?
Yeah.
Do you think that sounds really weird. I don't have a really good analogy for this, but let's take smoking.
Sure.
If you want to quit smoking, they say the best way to quit is once you quit to replace it with a different habit.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Like if you're fidgeting with your hands,
sure.
You always have a cigarette in your hand. Well, now have a clicker or a pen or a Rubik's cube or something. I don't know, something simple.
Sure. If that's a positive behavior.
Yeah, replace smoking with I'd always used to puff. Okay, well now you're a workout person, right? Something like that. So my question is that did I come into an area of your life when you wanted to get the wind back in your sails? I'm not taking any success or credit for anything you've done, but this whole thing kind of came into my life, weirdly enough, at 4 years ago, when I was I'll be honest with you, bro, I was kind of apathetic. Mm-hmm. I was kind of discontent. Mm-hmm. I'm not really making more than 50, 60 grand a year. Mm-hmm. Had a decent, cute little business, But then I met Liz, and I realized she didn't want to, live in a pup tent or a trailer or an apartment for the rest of her life. Women seem to like nice things.
Yeah, and you were doing the way, like, summer was great, but winter wasn't.
Yeah, I vegged. I didn't have any real bills. But then, you get engaged, you get married, you have bills, you have cars, you have debt, life. So
growing up.
So I always say, like, I'm beyond thankful. Hopefully you guys know that I don't talk at you. Like, I talk with you. Like, I can't be any more real or humble, because when you're as real as humble as you can be, it hopefully just permeates through the microphone. Hopefully it permeates through the video camera. I'm really, really thankful. Do you feel like that same way sometimes? The last 3-4 years, like, you've never went to GIE. Now you go to GIE every year. You came out of a season you self-prescribed as maybe an L. Not like you lost business, but like,
no, I wasn't. I didn't feel like a winner at the end of those seasons. That's for sure. Like, and
do you feel like you're more excited now than you were 4 years ago?
Dude, 100%. Like, it was a total godsend that, like, we randomly met each other, and then, like, here we are to help other people, to grow as individuals, to grow as friends. We have significant others that are good friends. We're lucky enough to have dogs that are friends.
This is true.
And
sorry for the bad habits your dog has picked up.
Hey. It is all good. Like, so the point I'm making is you just got to embrace what life throws at you, because you never realize when, like, the answer is right in front of your face.
Right.
And, like, you have to look, you have to learn to say hello. In my case, it was, what are you doing with that camera?
Sure.
But you never know what asking a question will lead to. And, got me a friend. It got me someone who sees business a lot of the ways that I do. It's allowed us to grow our business and make tens of thousands of dollars together.
100%.
In like doing services that are definitely more profitable than some of the other services that companies provide. Like, this is very good stuff for our businesses, but for us individually to grow. And then beyond all that, everyone that's listening, like, I won't take credit for your success. You won't take credit for mine.
No.
But I think it's fair enough to say that a lot of the things that you guys get to listen to that Brian puts out, or that I put out, or even that some other people put out, that goes back to moments that happened years ago that were very serendipitous. That, like, it's all like there has to be a bigger plan, right?
I sincerely agree.
You step back in life and you think about that stuff, and it blows your mind. Like,
seriously,
like, so not only would BPM not be in a good spot, who knows where your company would be if we never met. There might not be a Lawntrepreneur Academy. There might not be a debt-free landscaper. I don't even know that there would be an Ursuland, because my retirement package and plan that I had put together for myself, that I thought was just the best thing ever. It's different, very different now. But I had something put together 4 or 5 years ago that I thought was just great. Until I met this guy named Brian, who, like, were willing to challenge some of the things that I said, and we're like, well, why don't you go look into this, and why don't you go look into that? And I did, and I'm trying those things actively now.
I'm super excited for you, because I'm like, hey, how's that working? We get dinner every 3-4 weeks.
Whenever we get a window. That's it. Like, it's literally, sometimes some months it's harder to do than others, but I honestly, like, it's pretty hard to imagine where my life would be today if I hadn't, like, just really embraced the past couple of years and gone to a GIE and get on a phone call with people like Jobber or Echo or QuickBooks or
all these people.
Like, I didn't really, like, the closest I'd done to any of that was 10 years ago. Dan Weingartz had me work with the Xmark people on some of the original iterations of the red technology that you've had on some of your mowers.
Yep.
And I got a taste of that like 10 years ago, and then, like, that faded, and I talked to some of the Xmark people, and they're like, oh yeah, no, that was really helpful, but we just don't do a lot of that anymore. And then that's how it was for a few years. And then now we get to this past couple years where like, no, they're not doing focus groups anymore. They're doing the YouTube and Instagram and embracing people like Brian and others who there's just a lot of mutual value created for the manufacturer and then us as end users by just using that as a platform to share what the product can do compared to outdated, but still viable platforms that like print or other things that they have their place, but print is just unfortunately very two-dimensional.
Yep. Well, here's the altruistic motive or behind-the-scenes motive, right? I've said with everything I'm doing, I've tried to just shave time, energy, pain, hurts, the whole deal off of other people, right?
You have.
I know for a fact, like these, Facebook didn't invent like relationships.
Definitely.
It didn't invent communication.
Nope.
Right. It just shortened that distribution model.
It definitely did. It made it took people that wanted to communicate and figured out how to put them together faster.
You look at Amazon.
Yeah.
People have been buying stuff in catalogs and online
forever.
Yeah, forever.
So one of the reasons Site One was so interested in one of our local supply yards was their catalog business.
Right. And so Amazon didn't make anything. I haven't made anything. I'm just trying to create this distribution model.
Yes.
That takes the companies right to the viewers.
Yep.
That's I'm doing my lean marketing here. Okay. There's so much more that like I'm trying to document my life that nobody knows about.
Sure.
A decade before I even jumped on YouTube, where I spent so much time learning things.
Yep.
And so YouTube, it's such I've learned it's learned me. But by doing all this, I've always tried to help you guys as much as like my breath is in my body. I'm like, how can I make a video, a YouTube post, an Instagram post, a podcast post? Because I'm like, oh my God, I've got these relationships. It's like a magnifying glass, right?
Yeah.
Takes the sunlight in and focuses it in, and now you can burn a hole in the ground.
Totally.
I mean, that's what I'm doing with YouTube. I'm like, look, there's so much noise, so many companies, so much this. And what's the ulterior motive? Hey, if I absolutely happen to profit $1 behind the scenes, are you guys cool with that? Because all I want to do is buy a Tesla. I mean, that's the idea. Is it okay that if I take the 6 years of me, 5 years now, grinding my life away behind the scenes to help you guys make literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, the only thing I'm looking for out of it, maybe at the end of the day, is a fun Tesla. And by the way, if I take it to GIE, free rides. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Because I'm just having fun, bro. Like, that's the idea. We've never done this to get rich. We've never done this to...
this is all about helping people. Like you, the more you help others, the more you help yourself, man.
Sure. Here's what I'll say. Go help 1.5 to 2 to 3 million people a month without looking for a return. And I promise you, money will find its way to bless you back. The universe will conspire to prosper you. And I just tell people, like, for real, dude, like, I'm just literally trying to help people. I know you guys hear me say that, but I guess I'm always trying to prove it. You know, I guess
your actions are proving it all the time, man. You are giving and you're not really doing much taking. And if you were doing the taking, you wouldn't be having the success. Yeah, because people would. You've done it long enough, man. People figure out real fast, faster than they ever have in society.
Sure.
What people are up to, and it's because we can go online and we can scour the internet and come across to like a MySpace or a live journal way back in the day.
Wow,
right?
I do remember that.
Whoa,
my brother killed live journal, dude.
There you go, man. So
forgot about that one.
But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's data out there that someone can like dig up and be like, but did you know back in 2001, 19 years ago, this happened? And like, if you're a political figure, your career's over now. But like the day and age of people figuring out what people are on and calling them out on. I mean, we live in what they call call out culture now or something like that.
Yeah, cancel culture too.
Yeah, that too. if there wasn't a true level of authenticity here and it wasn't really about that, have you had people take shots at you and be mean? Sure.
Right.
And that's probably, unfortunately, not going to end anytime soon, because that's just, people are unfortunately like that in this day and age. And that's fine. People want to take shots. That's just them portraying their own personal issues onto everyone else.
Yep.
But if, people were to dig up all this disingenuous dirt that it isn't there,
right.
But if they were, then none of this would be here. We wouldn't be on this podcast right now. We all would have realized that Brian or other people in this community were all nefarious characters, that they were all plants from a manufacturer.
From the NALP.
Yeah, a religious organization or something to literally take over the world.
I've had people say it.
As far as we know, Scientology isn't infiltrating our industry negatively. Or
No, I mean, I don't prescribe.
I mean, if they are, do they have anything better to do? It's the lawn care industry. Come on.
I've had people, Mike, say that I'm Patsy for the NALP. I got all this free stuff to trick people into getting into the industry because we need labor. So I've had literally people say I'm here to solve the labor problem.
If only it worked like that,
dude. If that's the case, man,
take me to your leader.
I wish I could just bring in all these 17 to 25-year-old people that are just so bored, or they're looking at college. I'm like, nope, come to lawn care. Somebody's got to prune.
No offense, Brian, you're an awesome guy and you have an immense amount of talent, but I don't know that anybody's that good. I think I think the only way that issue gets resolved is just society itself pans out in the right direction, and that people somehow, this industry and others, gets the recognition that perhaps it maybe even truly deserves as truly a viable contender of what you ought to do spending your time, because it can produce results that can put you in a spot that no one else can.
Right.
And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I do. The only way we're sitting where we're sitting now, as happy as we are, is being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, 100%.
I said it in the video I did with Jobber. I don't think it would work very well if I worked for somebody else. I got tastes of that when I was a teenager, and all those relationships ended really, really well. I mean, I worked at the Novi Ice Arena for several years, and the guy they have a private company managed that arena and some others.
I've rented it out before for Liz.
Yeah, and the guy who manages that, owns the company that manages that arena, is a client of mine now.
Oh, wow, nice.
Totally full circle. He let me hit someone beneath him hired me to run the snack bar and work some open skates back when I was 17, 18 years old.
Okay.
And now the big boss, he's coached sports teams and done all sorts of stuff aside from running this business, and is a very well connected individual. But when somehow opportunity connected us, he was like, wait a minute, I know this guy. He can definitely work at my house. If I trusted him to work at my company 15 years ago, I think I can trust him to be around here.
Right.
Yeah, no problem. So, you never know when you're interviewing for a future job.
Right. Well, this has been good. I appreciate you being on the show. 2 parts.
My pleasure.
Literally, it's not uncommon for Bedell and I to get together for 3 to 4 hours.
Yep.
Just talk. And you're like, what could you talk that much about lawn care? I'm like, dude, trust me. There's so many stories, and
I walk away smarter every single time, my friend.
I so sincerely hope so, because I'm just laughing to myself in my brain. I'm like, every time we get done talking, I'm like, man, I hope here's what I would say. I hope I helped Bedell out. I'm not trying to help you out, but I'm saying I hope I helped him out, and I hope I didn't mess him up. Because
not at all, man.
I always appreciate you. I leave and I come back and I throw up on Liz for literally 1-to-1. Mm-hmm. What does 1-to-1 mean? When you and I talk for 4 hours, I just tell Liz for 4 hours what we just learned. She's like, give me the condensed version. I'm like, no. All 4 hours was good.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I talked to Stan for 30 minutes. She's like, what did you and Stan talk about? I go, do you have a half hour? She goes, what do you mean? I go, every minute was good. I talked to Lamont Harrison. Lamont, what's up, dude? What's up? I'm in this phase of my life.
Oh, man.
Everything is good.
Yeah. Everyone's got Lamont and I had dinner or lunch after GIE.
Yeah.
And that was,
Keith,
honestly,
Dylan,
that was one of the better
everybody.
conversations I had, the entire thing. We're at a point where, it's just iron and sharpening iron, like Paul Jamison would say. That,
Paul, Julio.
Everybody that you talk to in this industry it has something that you can walk away from, and it's on you to have that conversation and then listen and then learn.
Amen. And apply.
Yeah. And then go home and do something about it.
Work your ass off.
Yep. Work your ass off, but have a plan. And if you have so that's it.
Course correct.
Both you and I are just working this plan right now.
Right.
And then surprise, the things are going well. Like I keep, Brian knows I circle a lot of things back to sports, but if you played sports growing up or you enjoy watching sports, you probably at some point have either played on a team or watched a team where one team, hopefully the team you were on, maybe not, had a plan and knew exactly what they were doing.
Right.
And the other team, hopefully you weren't playing on, but perhaps you were, and I know I certainly have, didn't have a plan. And literally it was the longest game you've ever watched and or played in because it was just watching cat and mouse. Like one team was so talented and the other team hardly belonged out there.
Right.
And you watch it from like quickly, everyone knows what's happening after like the first 5 minutes of the game, and some teams like kind of start implementing some mercy rules, and or it just turns into this runaway train, or if it's hockey, the benches have cleared by the second period because the game's out of hand. And that's
not fun.
Dude, that's no way to live life. And we can work as hard as anyone in this industry. You can have the sweetest, newest equipment, the coolest looking truck, but if this doesn't actually help you achieve anything in your life, if you don't have a plan, if you don't know where this is going to take you in 10 or 20 years, then like it's time to take a minute and think about that. So and this isn't like a shame on you type moment. I never
it's come to Jesus moment.
That's it. That's like that's me saying this as someone who hasn't always had a very good plan.
Right.
Hasn't always had the plan that they've wanted to have that makes them feel good. Someone who feels like they've finally got a plan now,
right,
but knows that like 10 years from now I might tell you all about how my plans changed, and that's okay. But every day I'm waking up and I'm working a plan.
Right.
And that's truly what I believe allows me to A, be successful, and B, share with others. So
and be steadfast.
Yeah. So make 2020 the year that you gain some mentorship. Focus on what's your piece of life. What do you want to do?
Right.
And then find some people that can rally around you and hold you accountable, but become your biggest cheerleaders, because that's what you need. You need people who, like when Brian was doing the Entrepreneur Academy, he's like, dude, you need help? I'll come help you plow snow. Like, I was having some truck issues. And I was like, no, Brian.
Yeah.
Like, you're right. You could come help just me, or you could go help everyone.
Sure.
Go help everyone.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I hope you never stop.
I appreciate the kind words, the encouragement for sure. Because even from day one, when you're like, interesting, go get him, buddy.
Yeah, it was never like, you'll never do that. It was just
not
like,
at all.
Brian, that's fascinating.
Go get him.
Yeah.
And the guy who made his ultra critical comments, we're friends, we're buds. We talk. I've never shared the story with him, so he'll never know who he is.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. But
he probably doesn't even remember what he said.
Definitely doesn't. When you get to that age, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, boomer. Anyway, you guys know that. Bedell just looked at me. Did you say that? So I love having fun. Here's the thing, man. I take the serious things in life serious. Everything else that's inconsequential, I don't overly think it, overly take it serious. Okay. But we sincerely do believe, with what we're saying, that the community, the content we put out, it's extremely helpful. But I always say this: you got to let it get into your bones, let it get into your heart.
Yes.
I know it sounds kind of weird or hokey pokey or kind of kumbaya. Success
is when you feel it in every ounce of your being.
See, dropping bombs. He's my analogy go-to guy. My analogies suck, but anyway. So I always appreciate anybody who's poured into me. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this. I mean, we just literally ripped out 5 hours of the podcast,
and I love it.
And honestly, like Bedell and I, we could probably link back up in 3 days, recharge, and do this all again, because we're just trying to help you guys. If you guys haven't left a 5-star review on this episode or the podcast in general, I know I end a lot of podcasts by saying that, but do me a big solid. Shoot me a 5-star review. It helps the podcast get service. It's not a direct reflection on like me. Like if you put 1 star or 5 star, I'm already believe I'm a 5-star. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest.
You're not gonna change Brian's opinion.
You're not gonna change my opinion. But if you want to help your brother out there learn this content, your friend, your lawn bro, somebody else that has been as blessed as you are receiving this content as you have been, by hitting 5 stars, it pumps it out on the algorithm and the World Wide Web and the interwebs, and that's how it works. So I'm not changing what anything I'm doing. If I wouldn't even do the podcast if I didn't believe in what I'm doing. So do yourself. You're hitting 5-star review for you. You're hitting 5-star review for the next guy out there that you want to pay it forward to. We're all in this together, man. And so I know we get serious, we have fun. We get serious, we have fun. But Bedell, seriously, thank you for being on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Seriously, thank you to my wife, who's been keeping my dog at bay for 7 hours.
Best boy.
He might actually burrow through the ceiling right now.
I wouldn't be surprised. Liz is a saint for keeping both Teddy and Frank in line at all times.
People always go, what does Liz get? I go, everything else. I go, she's well compensated on the payroll. So anyway,
she works hard, man.
People have no idea. So my life, it's a ballistic missile. Like, it's just, she's my guide. Okay.
Yes.
So I appreciate you being on the show.
My pleasure.
It's not lip service. I had a lot of leads like this, but thank you.
And thanks to everyone who's listened and supports Brian and I. Honestly, we couldn't do any of this stuff without you guys taking the time to support us. So
100%.
It means a lot, and we just look forward to continuing to have this fellowship with all you guys.
Well, if you guys are on a mower, or if you guys are plowing snow, just know that we appreciate you. We're thinking about you guys for real, and we
be safe.
Yes, check your mirrors if you are plowing. Anyway, so hey, this has been another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. First ever two-peat, with Bedell.
Love it.
Part 1, Part 2. So again, thank you to him for being on the show. Again, if you guys haven't left us a review, please do. And thank you so much for supporting us, supporting the sponsors, using the Brian's 10 code, all that fun jazz. It goes a long way. So, Bedell, any last thoughts?
No, guys, just be safe. Have an amazing season. Find some mentors, and then just feel free to reach out to Brian, myself, anybody else who, if he's had somebody on this podcast, that means they're floating on the same wavelength, and there's someone who wants to see you succeed. So
I love it.
That's how I'll end this, is that we're all in it together. We're all going to win together. And if you have that attitude, we've got it over here, and we'd love to be on the winning team together.
Well, cheers to a prosperous 2020.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Over and out. Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.